Cheers. Damn.
Worthless Opinions Podcast, episode 5.
Yeah. Episode number 5.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Episode 5 already.
Yeah.
It's
We're departing from the norm.
We-
It's not a Wednesday.
it's weird because it's gone. We're at episode 5 already, but we initially expected to be further than this.
I guess. Yeah, there were goals.
Regardless, I'm still pretty surprised at our progress.
Yeah. It's getting along.
This podcast has come a long way. It's grown, it's evolved
From
it's
a
changed
casual idea to something
to
real.
something still casual, still pretty casual, but
real.
and still an idea.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's weird. I was listening to one of our earlier episodes.
Which
Be it-
one?
I think it was 1 or 2, just
Okay.
when I was re-uploading them to YouTube during our big switch.
Oh yes, our
And,
large company switch.
it's strange because right now, me and you were in this room by ourselves, talking to each other, but we don't know who's listening to this right now.
That's fair. Yeah.
We don't know who we're talking to.
Yeah.
We're just speaking into this empty void of the internet
Well, yes.
right now.
Well, that was the original idea, to just speak
And it's weird because
and then record it.
it's going to be there unless we take it down, which I don't think we plan on. But
I don't even know how we got it up.
once it's on the internet, it's there. Even if we take it down, it'll still.
some form of
be
it will
there.
still be there. Yes.
So maybe in like hundreds of years, when people are going back studying our civilization, they'll come across this podcast and learn about
Nothing.
nothing, but maybe learn something about our existence.
I guess
learn
so.
about our worthless opinions.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
you can learn a lot about humanity, I guess, through that.
you could. I guess that's more if you're looking for it than just casually listening to it, though.
I guess so. How's your day, Mandeep?
Pretty great. I had a pretty awesome day today, actually.
Tell me about it.
Well, I went to Canada Cup. And for those of you who don't know what Canada Cup is, it has nothing to do with sports. It's all about fighting games. Or fighting video games, I should say.
Street Fighter, Tekken, what else?
Street Fighter, Tekken, Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear. And like not just one version of Street Fighter, like Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 2, like the one on Super Nintendo and in cabinets. It's a fun time.
All right, Mandeep, walk me through your most epic battle right now.
Oh God, epic battle? Okay, I had a major fail, but like, it was good. Okay, I got really lucky and got 2 rounds in. So on my 3rd round, I got to go up against a crazy ass Japanese pro named Itadashi Zangief, who just destroyed me.
Mandeep versus Itadashi Zangief.
Yeah, and he killed me. Like, it wasn't even funny. He made me look like I didn't even know what I was doing. He was like, "Why are you pressing buttons? You should just give up." Like,
Did he
it
actually
was
say
bad.
that?
No, I mean, like, he said that with his play. Like, he was just like, "Hey, you got 1 hit on me. By the way, I just killed you."
I'm sure that happens all the time. He's used to it.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he's the one doing it most of the
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Well, I'm sure he got his fair share of.
Yeah, but he's now kicking ass, so I'm pretty sure he's not thinking about that as much.
Hey, man. Sucking at something is the first step towards being sort of good at something.
That's very true. That being said, I'm really happy I got to play him. He's an awesome guy. He's really kind. He gave me some tips. He's a good
That's
guy.
cool.
Yeah,
It's nice when people aren't so full of shit when they're good at something.
exactly. He was enjoying it, and it was very, very apparent.
That's nice.
Yeah, all the pros come out to Canada Cup because it's like one of the biggest events in Toronto, at least for like Street Fighter and stuff like that, or fighting games, I should say in general. Yeah, it's a great time.
Nice.
I encourage anyone to go if you like these games. Definitely
bad.
worth it.
Or maybe if you just like this song.
That too. You'll hear a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yo, I saw a guy who was cosplayed as him and then played as him in the tournament.
That's dedication right
It
there.
was. This guy was all about Guile. Like,
That's not a bad costume. Do
Also-
they have? So was there the background music playing from all of the?
some of them, yeah. There was either
Didn't it just sound like a crazy like mix of like tons of songs playing at the same time?
depending on where you see. You know what?
From what you showed me, all the computer's screens look pretty close together.
Yeah. Okay. They don't play the sound on. Okay. Since there's so many people, they have a stream, and what they have is on speakers they have the stream music. But on the small monitors, because they have at least like 20 different stations, so there are like 20 PS4s on like 40 of them actually, 20 on each side of the room, and then all the sound on those is off because they're on monitors without speakers. So yeah, so there is no sound other than like the stream on the giant screen that's in front of, on like to the left of you, I should say.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
That's cool. You made it. Did you get any kind of prize or just like participation?
No, buddy, you don't win. You don't win anything if you don't get
So
to
does
top.
the second place get a prize or?
No.
Wow.
Or I mean, it
Fucking
does.
brutal.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, like second. It's like second place out of 300 people, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Not like second place out of.
No,
like,
I'm talking second.
Okay.
Second place.
First, yeah,
man.
top three.
Buzz
top three,
Aldrin.
That's it. Top three.
Nothing.
They get like way less than the. Okay, top gets 15K. Like second gets like 3.
Yeah,
Like,
that's not too bad.
no, it's not bad at all. I mean, if you're making money for playing games, it's pretty dope.
Pretty big disparity between first and second. yeah.
Exactly. It's
What
like
does there get?
like a K probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. See, comparatively, you're just like if you're
Probably
going
not,
for the money.
Probably not equivalent to the amount of effort you put in. to
Exactly.
get
If you're
there,
going for the money, you're going for number one because number
Yeah.
one gets it all.
I watched all of Stranger Things too.
That's
And,
pretty awesome.
Pretty
How-
short amount of time.
You said it was
I-
9 episodes, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I could say I binge watched it. I binged it.
Is it 40 minutes an episode or 20?
They're between 40 to 50, 40 to an hour. Some of them are longer.
Oh shit! So it's like 9 hours. Damn.
Yeah,
I thought it was. I thought it'd be like
yeah,
6
give or
7.
take. Yeah, it's about 9 hours. So
Oh, fuck.
I did. Yeah, I started at 8 p.m. last night, and then I think I finished at like 6 today.
So still pretty fresh. Yeah.
Still very fresh, yeah. And I was telling you, I think over the last few months about how I thought this is gonna suck really badly. I did not think it would be good, and I'm glad that it was actually pretty good.
That's good.
It was
I mean,
better than I thought it would be, and
Excuse
the
me,
problems
that's all I
that
can hope
I
for.
have with it are definitely the problems I foresaw with it are definitely present. I don't think there's really any way to get away from those things, but overall it was enjoyable. I had a good time. I had
Good.
fun watching it.
That's good. That's all you can watch.
It was
from
just
it.
as much
I mean,
fun as watching the first one, but
Really?
the-
Because the first one was like the greatest thing ever, according to the internet. So like, if the second season's not as good,
I mean, I wasn't super crazy about the first one either. I mean, it's a fun watch. It's not something that,
would it be something you would rewatch?
no.
Okay.
Well, I'd rewatch episodes. I enjoyed watching because I watched the first one last summer, and then my brother just started watching that one like a month ago. So
Okay,
I watched
yeah.
the first 2 episodes with him, and I really enjoyed it. And I guess I picked up on a few things that like I didn't really.
Yeah, but that was after
Noticed too
again
much
multiple viewings. Like
first
if
time,
it's
yeah.
just it's kind of like seeing movies where if it's just the single time you
Yeah.
see it, it's always just gonna seem that way until
Yeah.
you rewatch it like a bunch of times, and then you start to see flaws.
It was good, yeah. Sam from Lord of the Rings shows up.
You're telling me.
He's great. He's fantastic. He was my favorite character. I think.
He's everyone's favorite character. He's everyone's favorite person.
There was a lot
Let's
of
just
the new
say
characters
that.
were great. Actually, there was they did some fun stuff with them. Are you gonna watch it or?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Probably. I have no plans to, but at the same time,
There's some things I don't want to spoil for you because
don't really-
there's actually some very good moments that are worth. Another thing is you don't really have to watch the first season to watch this
I heard
because
that as well. Actually,
they
Yeah.
really spoon feed it to you every single time they reference something that happens in the first season, they cut to a shot of it.
Oh,
They
okay.
literally cut back to it every
sweet.
single.
Yeah, so you don't need to see it at all.
Where they
Okay.
could have just said it in the dialogue and left it, they always have to cut back. There's a shitload of flashbacks to the first season.
if they only said it, then it would only make sense to people who've seen it. So I guess that's why.
Even
It's
then,
just
I thought
like-
it was a bit much on that, just because it's like, yeah, even if I hadn't seen it, I think I could piece together what happened
I'm assuming this
by
is
you
like
guys talking about it.
I'm assuming this is like 10 minutes of flashback in each episode. Like,
Not all the time, but like whenever they cut a lot to flashback to like, not like full on flashbacks, but just to like showing it.
the immediate.
Yeah,
that
just
immediate
showing that
moment.
event,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
There's like one part
That's
where
not
it's like,
horrible.
I heard you flipped a van over, and then she's like, yeah, I did, and then it cuts to the shot of flipping the van, but it's like, okay, yeah, we know it's a pretty
Yeah.
pretty famous shot from that season, but no, it was it was
But
cool.
it's just a van flip. That sentence kind of just gives it all away, though.
It was-
they just
yeah.
flipped a van.
I guess why I thought it would suck so hard is because I feel like in so many great sci-fi series, the first one was just this really great, concise standalone story that takes place in a much larger universe. So I'm talking like Star Wars or Dune or The Matrix or Jurassic Park or
Most sci-fi.
most sci-fi. Alien 2, I think, is not is
Alien
can be-
had potential, but they kind of just kept doing the same thing over and
Well,
over.
they all have potential. So much sci-fi has tons of potential
very
because
true.
the universe is so interesting. But when you think about reasons why you like that first one so much, it's not really the universe. The universe is cool, but it's the characters and the story and how everything flows together and
Yeah.
it takes place. What makes it, it's like the story arcs in those series aren't necessarily that original. The beats of the story can be kind of formulaic, but what makes it unique is that it takes place in this cool universe with its own kind of rules and laws and settings and stuff. So I feel like Stranger Things was going to be no exception to that. I felt like the first one is definitely, a very concise, very simple, easy story to digest. And I didn't really, even when I finished the first one, I was like, I don't think there's going to be a second one. This is just a good, one shot thing. I was pretty surprised. And I thought if they did do a second one, it would be totally new characters.
Yeah, like a whole
Just knew
new
everything.
thing,
It'd be
but
kinda
in
like-
the same world. Like
Yeah,
in
with the same sort
place.
of thing happening in a different setting.
Yeah.
But no, they totally did not do that. It was all the same characters being brought back to the extreme. You learn way more about each character, and they really go back into the same group of people, which was good and bad because I do like the characters, and it was nice seeing them more. But I kind
Yeah.
of, at times, I felt a little guilty. I felt like I was eating too much candy.
You wanted more than just.
Well, I felt like it was bad.
Well,
Like,
because it was all familiar. You're just like, I'm getting to know these characters a lot more, but there's nothing new.
and I
about
knew
it.
that I was enjoying it just because I like them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
It's
fair.
just fan service, you know. It's just, and whenever you give into fan service, you feel a little bad on the inside. I think.
I don't know. I always feel like that moment is what defines what you like. Like the reason you like those characters is because you like those certain attributes about them. To say that, like, if you saw that in another series, you'd end up liking that series as well. In that sense, like,
Yeah,
that's essentially what you appreciate the most. Out of,
Yeah.
When I say that in characters, it's like you really see that, especially
funny,
in like
though,
one-dimensional
because-
characters.
when I talk about like Star Wars or Dune or The Matrix, it's like arguable whether it's like obviously the reason why people like the original works is because the story is so good and they like the characters, but there's also people who just really like the world and don't really give a shit about the story in any other series and just want to see more of that shit.
I remember when
And I
everyone,
mean, the prequels in Rogue One is a great example of that, where they shit everything out, but there's some people who will really enjoy them because they just want to see more of that world.
Matrix
And-
2 and 3 are a great example of that.
Exactly, they just give you more of what you want.
Exactly.
And I felt like this was definitely, but
That idea.
it's
where
hard because
okay.
I didn't really find the world that interesting. There wasn't really much to it. I felt in the first one, like there was some cool stuff and interesting lore, but I don't think it's one of those things where it's like you can have a whole like encyclopedia on it or some shit. It's like
Like it's not that well thought out. It's quite
it's very well thought out, but it's very one dimensional.
Yeah.
It's very
it's
well.
very basic.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really have any huge holes in it, which is nice, but there's also really not much to it in the first place. So,
No strengths but no weaknesses.
but
yeah.
it was cool how they kind of expanded on it, and at the end of it, I did enjoy it, and there was some nice, there was some good moments.
That's good.
But I'll let you watch it, and then we'll review it.
Yeah.
But,
If
yeah.
I do see it. Yeah, I don't know. I feel if I didn't watch all of the first one. I've only seen like the first 3 episodes.
It's worth a
So,
watch.
yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
good time.
it wasn't bad. I just ended up getting sidetracked watching other crap.
Fair enough. Speaking of other crap, we watched some movies.
Yeah, some great movies.
We're gonna review some films.
Some movies that made us believe in film and not notice that like
Some great movies. Yeah. So we watched a movie called Still Walking, directed by Hirokazu Koreeda.
Yep, it's a Japanese film about a family, or at least a family essentially getting back together.
It's a family drama
Yeah,
in all sense of the word.
just meeting, just a family meetup for
Yeah.
like a weekend, and you get to see them all in their
It's
glory and their pain.
a beautiful, amazing, very human film.
Yep.
And we watched Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was that was also a great time. We have a lot to say about that, but we'll get into that in a bit. And then we watched Okja.
And Okja was cool as shit. I knew nothing about this film.
I didn't
going
either.
into it,
I didn't know what the hell
and
to
I
expect.
loved everything about it. Even like
What?
I loved everything about it.
Dude, we were shit talking this movie a lot.
Yeah, but now that I think about it, I was realizing that there are things, like you said, there are things that are very obvious about it. Like all the CG and it's like really fucking
That wasn't what
obvious.
bothered me at all.
No, I mean.
Okay, we'll get into this.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. We'll get to it.
Alrighty, so let's just pull this up here. Refresh. We did watch this. When did we watch this movie?
When was the last time we used the file?
Oh, touche. July 21st.
Dope. That's when we watched it.
Actually? Holy shit, no way. Dude, it's October 28th right now.
I know.
I don't. No. That was like when we saw Kuso and shit. That was way too long ago.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
I think that's when I downloaded it.
Possibly. Yeah, we only saw it probably like a few weeks ago then.
Nah, there's no way that was like 3 months ago.
Yeah. It was probably like the beginning of October, close to the end of
Maybe, yeah. I don't think it was that long ago.
No, it's probably a few weeks. It's a great film. It's a very real film. It's a movie that reminds you of your family. That's the best way I can put it.
In a really, really cool way. And I think I'm just going to go out and say this is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I really, really, really liked this movie. It's so beautiful and just so raw and real. I was just so encapsulated by it the entire time. I mean, just like right from this first shot, it's just so in the moment the whole time.
Yeah.
Even though like on paper nothing really happens during
No,
this
it's
movie.
very casual.
Nothing
It's
happens
just-
and so much happens.
Yeah, when I say it reminds you of your family, it's because everything in this film are all casual moments. There are moments you have with your own family. When you're washing the dishes, cooking breakfast, like those sorts of things. Going to bed.
All
like,
the
talking to each other,
conversations
like-
just felt so real and organic and
Yeah.
natural, like things that would actually happen.
And then sometimes some people go too far and piss each other off, and that happens as well. That's very real. Like,
And it's funny because so many movies people like because they're not real. They take them away from shit like this that they have to deal with all the time.
yeah.
But it just felt so great because you're learning more and more, and then the more you get to know them, the more you want to know about them.
Yeah,
And,
because they're not just simple characters. They all have their own views on. It's essentially the whole family is getting back together for the death day of one of the sons.
The anniversary of his death. And
Yeah.
as we go on, we learned that he died drowning.
He drowned saving a child.
And then that child ends up coming back and visiting them every year.
On the death day.
On the
On
death
this
day,
day.
yeah.
And it's just about because they had 2 sons and a daughter, and now they only have 1 son and a daughter. And it's just about them all trying to get over it, I guess.
And I mean, they never really make any progress in that department, but that's not.
They never really aimed. They
They
never
don't
really
aim
tried
to.
to.
I
They
mean,
never
it's
really
just
tried to do it
remembering
as
him.
a family. They just.
Yeah.
They try to each separately go their own way
And
about it.
It's interesting because oh man, that looks so good. That's another thing. The food in this movie looks delicious as hell.
You get to see
There's
every,
a lot of amazing Japanese food being cooked in this movie.
Yeah,
and
you
it
get to,
is
but what's also
fantastic.
I love about those scenes too is because the food looks so delicious, but the conversations they have when making them aren't that great.
very real, very much
They're
like
very shitty, actually.
very much like any Christmas or Thanksgiving you would have.
Yeah, like imagine looking at something like a beautiful dish in front of you, but at the same time hearing like just like the worst shit coming from your family, or just being in an argument with like someone from your family.
And it's true because these things don't go away. They don't get resolved, you know? They don't just. And that's a big thing with so many movies is that things just get resolved.
Yeah, there's no quick
And then
closure
if
here.
something doesn't get resolved, it's seen as like a flaw in your writing or something. Whereas this is just so real, so raw. So, you know,
This one's just about a day.
it's just about a day.
Yeah, whether the day goes good or bad, it doesn't matter. It's just about the day.
Yeah, just so many scenes really moved me in this movie. Everything with the grandfather was great. I love that scene where he has the little boy, his
Oh yeah.
step grandson.
Yeah, step grandson. Because
Yeah.
the son married a widow, and she has a son. So, or the son of the family whose child died. They're all older now at this point, and he's marrying a widow who has a son. And they brought they brought him as well to this death day to
And
meet the
yeah,
whole
he's
family.
telling him you should become a doctor. That's a good profession. And
For no reason.
I mean, that's what he
for
did to his
own,
son.
Well, I mean, for his own personal satisfaction, but
That's
that's
just
not
what
a,
he thinks of as being a good career, which is something everybody can really.
But
A lot
that's-
of people can
No, but that's
relate
just
to.
it. That's not the real reason. He pretends to dress. The way he talks about it is it's very obvious he pretends to dress like this in fact, where he's like being a doctor is great and like doing these sorts of things is fulfilling and like all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, he just wants it because he wants someone. He wants an heir to some degree.
Yeah.
So he's just like, I need someone to go into this, regardless of who they are, even if it's just because at first their father or their grandfather doesn't like the widowed mother that he's married, and yet he's willing to tell the grandson, "Yo, follow my footsteps." Like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And it's funny because that's all, that's his world. That's all he really knows.
That's all he really cares about.
And work is such a huge part, and his pride in his work, and that's his identity. And
because he's starting to retire and it's starting
And,
to
yeah,
hit him, and it's like he can't deal with it.
he's
That's-
getting too old to do his job anymore, and that's, losing your identity is a huge thing, and you kind of feel for him a little bit because he's, for so many years he's been this kind of macho, hardworking man who's providing for his family,
Yeah.
and now he's kind of giving up that role.
No, he's just the complete opposite, and
And
I
now
don't think he
he's
can.
just
He
an
can't
old
really
man, yeah.
deal with it. Or he's trying to do his best to deal with it.
One thing I really loved is just how much, on a technical level, the filmmaking complements the story in this movie. I love all the really long, wide shots, especially the so difficult. Like there'd be like a 10-minute wide shot of everybody eating together.
Yeah,
And just you'd see their conversation go, and it wouldn't just cut to the important parts and then
exactly.
just leave it.
They never
It's-
cut to
it just-
faces, or
it
they
just
never
has-
cut to just like profile shots, or like
Yeah, or to tell you, it doesn't spoon feed you, tell you this is important. This is what you should be focusing on.
Yeah.
It's just no. You're here. You're with them. You're discovering this as they are.
even in between conversations, you'll hear people that aren't in the shot, and like they might be talking fluently, like in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah,
and you'll just see these others' reactions.
that's
to
great.
them.
Yeah, he
like
just walks right by through the frame, and he's just doing his own thing, and they're doing their own thing. And
Yeah. it's
it feels like you're in the house with them the whole time, and that's another thing. You don't really notice that the whole movie basically takes place in this house.
yeah, it takes place in a house and at the site, the grave
the
marker,
cemetery, but very rarely
and
do they
the
get
walk
out of it.
there. That's it. So,
It's
and
really
not far from the house.
very minimal locations, but they manage to keep you engaged the whole time.
Yeah,
which
they
I
show
really
you
loved.
because they don't reuse many shots, so they show you every version of the house just in a bunch of different angles. So every time it cuts to a new shot, you get to see a new part of the house, which is really great. So by the end of it, you're really used to it. Like you see everything from every angle. Mm-hmm. So you get to really understand where everything is. Like,
And it's
you can tell where
something
their
I
kitchen
really
is. Where
enjoy.
their,
And
yeah.
this movie just avoids all of the cheap shots, I believe, in filmmaking.
At least in dramas. I'm gonna
At least
say
in-
more like in like
just
soap
in
opera
general,
and
I
drama
mean,
style
like,
like stuff.
You know, like one of the cheap shots I think when you're making a movie is just using lots of locations to keep it fresh. You know, you're just like, you're going here, and then you're going here, and then you're going here, and then we're gonna cut to a flashback of this happening, and then you're gonna see this happening. And because I don't really know how to fill up the next 10 pages, oh wait, how about we just do a flashback of how these two people met? Sure, yeah, that sounds great. And then we're gonna go back and then watch that whole happen. And they could have done this. They could have been like, this whole movie could be
Yeah,
flashbacks.
anytime they reference
They
something,
could have
you could've
shown-
just cut back.
They could have showed the whole scene of the son drowning and then him trying to save the kid, and then you'd be like, oh, that's how it happened. Cool, but no,
They don't.
they don't need to, because
just them
they
talking
leave it
about
to your
it.
imagination. And in a sense, I think that's a lot more powerful than just spoon feeding you everything.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think, especially
and
a lot
it keeps
more
you
about
more in it. It keeps you more in the
engaged in
the
the
moment.
film. Yes, instead of just being like, oh, it's just now it's. Oh, they're talking about that. Now we get to see that. Now they're back to not
And I
talking
mean,
about it.
the whole movie is full of awesome choreography, shots like this, where just things are just always happening. Just the world is
Yeah, even
going
in the
on.
background, like you'll see kids playing and like stuff like.
Stuff is always, and it's funny because the things we're saying don't seem like they're hard to do. They don't seem like a big deal. Like
They seem like
if
something
somebody
you'd
asked
expect
me,
of
it's like,
extras, like and
yeah,
stuff like
if
that.
somebody asked me,
like,
it's like, what do you like about this movie? I'm like,
all
there's
the
a lot of
extra
normal.
work.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of normal shit in this movie. It's just normal.
Yeah.
They'll be like, okay, that movie sounds incredibly boring, and I'd be like, no, because
It is if you, but that's what I mean.
second-
If you enjoy melodrama, then this movie really isn't from you.
that's
Because
what's amazing about it, is because so many. It seems like recreating real life.
yeah,
is a
no,
hard thing.
It's
is
very
an easy
real
thing to do.
drama.
It
This
seems
is like
if somebody asks you, it's like, what are you gonna make your next movie about? And you're just like, I want to make a real life thing. I'd be like, okay, that sounds like a really straightforward thing to do. And then you'd be like, no, because the second you put a camera in a room and try to recreate things, it gets fake extremely quickly.
Yep.
And to try and really mimic, like really recreate, those moments that are so ingrained in you, like those real moments of your life, like that everybody goes through. That's an incredibly difficult thing to actually capture, actually really capture what it's like to be there.
Yeah,
And I feel like this movie does that incredibly well.
definitely. It gets you in very few lines. You learn a lot about characters in very few lines.
Sometimes no lines at all.
yeah, just
The way they
reactions
move,
alone.
the way they move, they carry themselves, and just,
Yeah.
the actors, they really knew their characters. I feel like all of them really knew who they were trying to portray and really played that to its full extent.
Yeah, they tried to. Yeah, they were very. Even the kids were really good in this movie.
They were great. They
son
felt
was
like
incredible. Actually,
they felt like real kids who had, they weren't just like, we're children.
no. They
yay."
were asking awkward questions.
They were asking super.
They were.
and I have so many memories of that as a
Yeah,
kid, where somebody would
exactly.
ask you something really fucked up, and you'd be like,
It's like, yeah, and that's what being a kid is, just asking shit tons of questions.
because you're curious. You don't know what the fuck
and
is
it's not a matter of
appropriate
good
or
or yeah, it's not a matter of good or
Kids say
bad or
fucked
right or
up shit
wrong.
all the
It's just
time, yeah.
I don't know, and I'd like to know whether it's good or bad. I
Yeah.
just want to know.
And there's that sense of being around during all this kind of family bullshit and not really knowing. And I think the child actors play that so well, where they're
Yeah,
kind of
they're
always,
just having fun, even though like moments are tense between like adults.
they're having fun, but they're also a little bit like, they're like, I'm a kid, I should be having fun. I don't have to do school or homework right now, so I guess I'm having a good time. But
Yeah.
also, something in the back of my head knows that something's not quite right.
Yeah, like there's a reason we're all getting together. Like they never openly tell the children it's about his death.
And
Like
kids
it's
just
about the kid. It's about
Yeah.
like the son's death. They're just like,
And it's
a
interesting,
family
yeah.
get together. Like come meet my family. Like it's yeah.
And they capture, because one thing this movie captured quite well is I feel like people don't often think about how kids have a lighter sense of their mortality because you're so young, and it's such a thing that seems like it's never really going to happen. And the kids talk about death kind of lightly. And
Only one of them does. It's because the one whose father's passed away, he doesn't. But he makes it seem like he is to other people because, like, if he acted strange,
he's trying to fit in.
Yeah, he knows that if he acted strange, people would treat him strange, so he pretends like it's nothing. But then when there's a moment where he's off on his own, and it's night, and he's talking to what he thinks is his dad's spirit, he's just looking up at the sky, and it's
Yeah.
just it's a very nice moment because it's like he tries to seem very mature and really, but at the end he's honest with himself and he's like, this really sucks because like, I mean, this happened and now I have to know about it when I'm only 10.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, look at this. I've never seen, shots like this in a movie. It's so, where it's literally not even pointed at anybody. You
No, it's
see
just
people,
a corner at a shrine.
You see people in the reflection, and then it's just pointed at inanimate objects for like a good, like, longer than any shot would be in a Hollywood movie.
Yeah, and then you get to hear conversations in between.
And then you hear them in the
like,
background, and stuff is just happening. It's just such a cool, kind of arguably pretentious idea, but that works really well.
Yeah, especially in this. It's very well done.
It's just a lot of things that work. I mean, we're just scrubbing through the movie right now.
It's just it's like you said, it's a lot of small things.
I just
when
really,
put together, really
there's
good.
nothing that feels out of place or that it shouldn't be there. There's no part of this movie where I was like, I didn't like that part, or like, I was like, I could have done without that.
Or any part you start drifting away. That never happens.
I was in it the whole time.
Yeah, you're always interested.
And the fact that I was in it the whole time, but the same locations, the same characters, the same everything, the entire movie is just so awesome and impressive to me. And that's just really something I love about movies, because there's no cheap shots. There's no parts where they're just like, let's just drift into this for a while. Like, to be honest, in Stranger Things, there's plenty of episodes and scenes where I'm just like, okay, that was just filler. Like, that was kind of cool. Like, I kind of enjoyed that, but really it served no purpose.
Yeah.
And not saying that every scene has to serve a purpose towards the narrative, but it needs to...
It needs to explain something. Be it the character or be it the plot, but to a degree it has to explain something.
It's a hard thing to say, because I'm okay with scenes being kind of unnecessary. I mean, if you look at it on paper, this whole movie's unnecessary, because nothing really, none of the
Nothing
characters...
happens, no.
Yeah. None of the characters really reach their goal or whatever.
There is no goal in this film.
There is no goal, yeah.
But that's like you were saying, like essentially this movie is pointless. There is no point to it. It's just a
Exactly.
day in a family's life.
It breaks all the rules and is still amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a great film. I mean, it's a lot of things in the sense that like it's not just one small thing about this movie is great. It's like it's a bunch of small things put together that make this movie incredible.
Yeah. It's just, it's a huge collection of, all these really great moments.
Yeah.
And that's what made it so cool. I think it's I love seeing, like I said before, stuff that just avoids the cheap shots, that avoids, the fast cutting, that avoids the flashbacks, that avoids,
Avoids what's already known very well, I guess.
yeah,
in
that
sense.
avoids, tons of subplots or bringing more and more things up and, not resolving them.
This movie is quite minimalist. There's not much sound in it either, like
And I
comparatively
think-
with music. and
Yeah, I
stuff
feel like
that.
a lot of people don't realize how hard that is to do, to make a movie that feels like a play. And I don't like saying that a lot, because when people are like, oh, that movie was great, but it's good if you think of it like a play. Then it's not boring. If you just think of it like you're watching a play. I'm like...
That's like at most movies.
But I'm like,
difference
that's most
between-
good movies.
Yeah.
Like, because plays, you can't take any cheap shots either. You can't do things you do in movies to keep your attention going.
No, but what essentially creates
know.
the difference between, at least to me, between films and play is the stage or the environment.
Yeah, and
Like,
I mean...
the setting. And
Yeah,
on a
I feel-
play, you're limited because you're on a stage. And
you can't take a lot of those same cheap shots. You can't
Exactly.
do montages where
you can't do that, and you can't. And
Time passes
Sure,
really
you
quick.
can have a
you
musical.
can try to,
and
but
like,
it's just gonna suck even harder.
exactly. And well, yes and no. I mean, have you seen the Queen musical like a while back?
No,
I did, and I loved it. I was a kid, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty much just montages
I mean,
set to Queen
listening to
music.
Queen is pretty dope.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. If you do it right, it can work. But you're limited in a play.
Yeah.
I feel like in a film, you have a
it's-
lot of options.
But if you give yourselves those limitations,
You can
and
make something
successfully
great.
pull them off, then you can make something amazing. Yeah,
I agree.
That's just what you're really owning the craft. I feel you're really taking full advantage of your craft as a filmmaker, and not saying like, there's things I could do, but I'm choosing not to because I'm just gonna focus on the most important things.
Yeah,
the
it
things
seems
that
like-
really matter.
Yeah, it just seems
Which
like
is your
when you're talking
stories
about
and your
those types
character,
of- yeah.
and just doing everything else to complement those. Just having everything else only enhance those things and not making it about those other departments.
Yeah.
and that's what makes this movie so cool.
It's quite minimalist.
The
makes it
pacing is
really
great.
good.
It's a nice slow pace, which is great. You don't see that in a lot of movies.
It's like your day off. If you wake up not early, but like if you have a late start to your day, and that's essentially how this movie feels.
It's
Like it's just a
it's
casual
so relaxing and so tense at the same time. I just felt so good watching it.
It reminded me a lot of my family, or just families in
Me
general.
too. It just it nails the family dynamic
Yes.
so well. And it's funny because I don't really after the movie after I watched it, whenever we watched it, I could tell you all the characters' names, but that's not really what makes you know them. You know them by their face.
You know them by their
You get to know them
roles.
so well, and you feel like you really know them.
You tend to get
It's
to know
a hard
them.
thing to explain, but sometimes it's so nice when actors really nail their characters so well to where you like really associate their face with that character.
Yeah, no, I
It
very
doesn't
much
feel
get
like they're
that.
playing it. You feel like that's them.
Yeah, and
you just see them and you're like, oh, it's that person. Okay, cool.
They really nail. They're very obvious in the way they act, in the sense that like the mother acts very much like a mother, but at the same time, she rarely talks about herself. She's always constantly on trying to do what's best for the family.
Yeah.
And like that sort of, and that's most mothers. I'm not going to say all, unfortunately, but most. But at the same time, there are moments for her where you get to meet her and see how she feels about the situation as a whole.
Yeah.
And everything, and like how it affects her. And it's quite real, because you do get to see her even freak out at one point. But her freak out isn't even at anybody. It's at a butterfly. Or no, a moth. I'm sorry, a moth.
That scene is so great. Let's watch that scene.
Yeah, she freaks out later in the night because a moth comes to one of the lanterns because they leave a door open, and she thinks it's the spirit of her son. And no one really knows what to do, because like the husband's like, hey, just squash it. It's a bug. It's useless. It doesn't matter. And she's like, no, you can't do that. It's our son.
I thought he was gonna squash
And
it.
yeah, I thought so too. And then
And that would have been another cheap shot.
yeah,
though.
exactly. And then, but what happens is the son
He
gently
catches it.
catches it and then just lets it go.
Because he's kind of a mediator in the family. He's
Yeah,
the normal one.
Exactly. He's the
And
one who's
he's-
just trying to make sure everyone is okay, like, and getting by. It's what I mean. Everyone's very much defined by their roles more than.
And
by
I'm really
their-
glad that scene kind of panned out in that way.
Yeah,
'Cause-
me too. That's what makes me remember it so much.
Yeah.
like you said, if he just squashed it and then everyone was sad,
Because that would have been the dramatic, easy
Yeah.
thing. Like when you,
And then the movie would just be
like I
over.
can think as a writer writing that part, I'd be like, oh, and then he squashes
the
it,
bug,
and then it happens.
and then everyone's sad, and then the movie's over, and then you feel like shit when leaving.
Oh, he's gonna be so sick.
And it avoids all that.
And it avoids all that. Yeah, there's no moments like that.
And then they
it's
put
great.
it away, and then they go to bed, and then the next morning they go on a walk because they live near the beach. And that's the movie. Like, it's great.
Well, then
I
it
really
skips.
enjoyed it.
Then it skips. Like a bunch of years, and they're dead.
Yeah. Well, that's like immediately at the end. Like
Yeah.
literally the last 3 minutes of the film. It skips well, essentially is at that night, because we said earlier that they had 2 sons and a daughter. One of the sons passed away. The son stays the night, but the daughter leaves with her family, and they go back to their house. Mm-hmm. And the son who stays the night tends to, well, like talk to his family more and like tries to get his widow and everything, like talking to them and that sort of thing. But when they leave the next day, the first thing he says is, "This should be good. We shouldn't have to show up for New Year's." And
Yeah.
when they leave and the grandfather's
They're like,
waiting
"Oh,
at
they'll
the
be
bus
back
stop,
right away at New
Yeah,
Year's."
see, and when the grandfather's at the bus stop with the grandmother, he's like, "They'll be back for New Year's, but not until then."
And
then
that's
it's
just such a great summary of the whole movie.
Yeah,
of how
like,
they're all on different pages of what
they're all
they
just
wanted.
kind of dealing with each other.
Yeah.
They're not like they don't love each other. It's very apparent they
Well,
love
it nails
each other.
how
but
in family, you're tied together by
whether you like it or not.
whether you like it or not. There are means beyond your control.
Yeah.
You're stuck with each other, and it's through all the good and the bad.
Yeah.
It's such a human experience having to go through all these things, and having to deal with all that trauma together and having different ways of dealing with them, some of which will affect other people.
Yeah, because one of them is that we told you this, the guy, that the son dies saving a child. they invite that child back every year, and like he's a fat loser. Like
Yeah,
literally, he's like an obese loser, and he's like when he comes and he's just like every day I'm very happy that he saved
You
my
can tell
life,"
he's
and
so uncomfortable and insecure being
and you
there,
can
but
tell that he's only doing it
he's
because
riddled with guilt.
Yeah, exactly.
And they make him feel a little more guilty.
Yeah, well, the mother does. The son tries not to. The son
knows
even
that-
addresses it later. He's
He
like,
address- he says
"Why
that
do
you
you do
should-
this?" And then she's like, "I have to feel bad about this every year. So once a year, I'm gonna make someone else feel bad about it." And that's just like, holy shit, that is very fair, but at the same time,
Pretty sadistic, yeah.
Yeah, ridiculously sadistic. But I mean, like we said, that's one of those moments where you really get to see the way the mother feels and thinks about it, because she's usually the one shouldering the burden for the whole family and trying to make sure that her husband's happy and that her kids are doing well and that sort of thing. But you really get to see her honest feelings in a moment. And that moment's very short. It's only like a minute and a half.
Yeah. Yeah, everything is very swift. All the big dramatic conflict scenes, you know, it's not like
It's more like one person steps a toe out of the line.
There's no
and then
melodrama,
someone just leaves.
but they
because they can't deal with it.
They feel just as powerful, you know.
Yeah, it's
you feel the tension because you get to know them so well, you know.
Yeah.
You're
Definitely.
really with them. So because you know them so well, you know that those really swift, subtle moments mean a lot.
Yeah, because you know that like they heard them or whoever's speaking,
Yeah.
whoever's listening.
It's
heard
just
the
as
speaker.
powerful,
Because it's
yeah.
not a matter of like someone yelling over someone else. It's a matter of someone being very curt and very honest.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it hurts or not, it's just the truth. Which, yeah, kind of sucks, but is there. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah. Even just like every frame is just gorgeous. Makes you really, especially for people like us who have like a bit of a soft spot for Japanese stuff. Like
Not just that though, but like
not
know-
just that, not at all. Like it's not like it's funny because I'll recommend this movie to people and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're obsessed with Japanese shit, so obviously you like it." But it's like, no, it's actually an incredible work of art.
No, it really much is. The fact that it made me,
And the fact that I like Japanese stuff is only really a bonus, but yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, and in all honesty, this made me think of my family a lot because my family is an immigrant family. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that they're very. I'm gonna say they're
For me
very
as well,
different.
it's a very relatable story, I think, for immigrant families.
and
Because
like
a lot
just-
of the
Families in general, it'll literally make
Families
you
in
think
general
about
too, yeah.
the moments in your family where things like this have
because
happened.
you know those kinds of people.
Yeah, and these kinds of things have probably happened to you. Like it's very real in that sense. It makes
Yeah.
you think.
It really does.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much else we can really say.
What would you
besides
give it?
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Gets 10 out of 10 thumbs up from Worthless Opinions podcast.
If you'd like to think, then, or if you'd like to, I guess, think about yourself or other people in relation to yourself, you should
No,
see
this is the first Hirokazu Koreeda film I've seen, and I look forward to watching some more of his work. Yeah.
this. I am not a fan of dramas, like even a little, and yet I've really enjoyed this film. Like it had me the entire time.
And it's, it that's why I said it doesn't take any of the cheap shots. It's just
so real.
It's just very well executed, and that's what drama should be.
Yeah. It's just hard to be. I mean,
It's very hard to do, yeah.
because you could say like people yelling at each other is also a very real like thing.
It is, given
But-
the context and, you know, the motivation and everything.
But it's just like you said, a lot of cheap shots or a lot of drama is that like when people are angry, they're yelling. When people are sad, they're crying. But the thing is, this movie really is the total opposite of that. You get to see someone who's incredibly sad, but still go on about their day
Smile
because they
and
have
just
things to do.
push it to the side, and you can tell
and
they're
deal
sad.
with it, and like.
You can tell they're miserable and sad, but that's what you do. You have
But
to
that's
live.
not stopping them from living. Like they have things.
They don't
ha-
exist for the purpose of a movie.
Yeah, they have their regular days and they have things to do, or else
Yeah.
like they're gonna die.
Yeah. And I think that's as real as it gets.
I agree. Like
It's,
just
it's about as close as you can get to, you know, recreating the human experience through a film.
Yeah. People should see this. It's a good film.
Yep. Alrighty, let's keep this moving. Still Walking, Hirokazu Koreeda, 10 out of 10.
Killing it.
Alrighty. So, we could talk about Blade Runner, we could talk about Okja. I
one do
feel
you
like
wanna do?
Blade Runner is like the big one that people are going to want to hear.
Do you want to do it last, though?
Yeah, we'll do that last.
All right.
Alrighty, so what was it? That was
Okja.
like 3 weeks ago we watched it, 3 weeks ago.
Okja or...
Yeah, Okja.
Okay, we saw this movie like 2 weeks before we saw Okja. I remember seeing them like
Our timeline
Relative.
is just
relatively close to each other.
yeah.
But I remember the only reason we saw Okja was because I just got Netflix, and we were just scanning new releases.
Yeah, I was
And then we were
I
like,
was pretty I remember I was pretty hungover. I came over to your house and
yeah,
I was just you're like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I just want to
let's
sit down.
just chill.
I was just like, yeah, I just want to chill and not really. And then we were like scamming through Netflix for a good 10 minutes.
Just
and,
like new releases, random crap.
and it was funny because, yeah, one of my mom was actually telling me about Okja because she was like, oh, one of my sister's friends watched it and really loved it. And then, yeah, you saw it and you're like, oh, I heard this was good. And I'm like, yeah.
I did. I heard good things.
And I'm like, I didn't know anything about it either. So I'm like, cool, let's put it on.
I didn't hear what it, like, that's the thing. I didn't hear what it was about. I didn't hear any of that. I just
And that
heard,
was our-
I heard
yeah.
Okja was a good film.
I'm like, cool, yeah, let's watch Okja. Fuck it, if it sucks, we'll shit talk it now.
Yeah, and we did a little. You're right, we did. But like, I did really like it, but it's very stupid. I'm not gonna argue that.
I didn't really like it.
It's very stupid. It is. I will never argue that point.
It's a very nonsensical movie.
Exactly.
Right
it is
from okay, so
ridiculously stupid, but I did enjoy it.
the first like I was kind of like okay, like I didn't really know what to expect. And then the scene where she's with her super pig Okja and then she falls off the cliff and then he makes like a crazy fulcrum thing to save her life.
Yeah, he makes a pulley. Okay,
Yeah,
so
that was when I'm like, okay, I think I know what this movie is going to be like.
Yeah.
This is going to be pretty damn ridiculous.
So, quick synopsis is this company tries to create a new type of meat so that they can make, they can
solve world hunger.
essentially. And the idea is that they crossbreed this super pig and they send 10 of them out to 10 different
Essentially
countries.
like a big publicity stunt.
Yeah, they
to-
send one to each different country. Not,
kind of
not 10
drift-
countries, I'm sorry.
Yeah, to kind of drift attention away from their own animal abuse.
Yeah, and they
Because
send,
really, there's nothing they're doing that is really. They're just.
There's nothing they're doing that's humane.
Yeah, they're just doing the same shit, but with a bigger pig, so they
Yeah.
can make more money.
Yeah.
Like they're really not addressing any of the issues of the meat industry or anything. I'm sure the super pigs fart just as much and have just as much CO2 in the atmosphere
Yeah.
as any other.
The only idea is that they grow
but-
like 20 times the size.
Yeah, they're way more efficient, I would assume, because they're genetically engineered for this purpose.
Yeah, so the thing is they send out one to each different country, and there's a pig farmer in each different country that gets it, and they each raise a pig for 10 years, and then whoever has the biggest pig wins.
Essentially, well, yeah. Is it
And,
just how big it is, or is there any
How
other?
big it is.
Yeah,
And Okja is
Okja's the biggest,
the biggest one.
and it got that way because of love.
essentially.
Okja ate his face out because Mija really loved him.
Yeah. Okay. So you only get to see one of the pig farmers, and that is Okja's family. You don't get to see anyone else's. And apparently he's the biggest. Or she? Is it she?
I think Okja's a man.
I think Okja was a dude. Okja,
I don't know. Is Okja a male or a female? Is
couldn't
Okja even a name?
yes, Okja is a name. They call her it, so it's a
I don't know.
name.
Maybe they just made it up. I don't know.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not a name. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, when there's a scientist that comes and visits them after 10 years, and he's like, "How did he get this big?" And it's just like, "Oh, I just let him run around." It's like, okay, so you did shit all, and this pig
Through love, yeah.
this pig just grew up on its
They
own.
they just really lucked out. Yeah.
And like it grew up in this like mountainous region with them.
I think what they were trying to get on is because they loved Okja. Because they were.
But he
really-
didn't love Okja. Only the kid
He didn't
loved
give- oh,
Okja.
because she loved Okja.
yeah,
Okja became big.
exactly. And
Okja was special.
so what they find out,
Okja was special. as
Okja
well.
was special. And what is the farmer's daughter really loves Okja, and She finds out only after 10 years that have to give Octra away because she thought that they were going to buy him. She was told when they were younger and she grew up with the pig. And she was told that they slowly give away a little bit of money each month and they get after like 10 years they get to keep him. But that was a total like bold-faced lie. And he's now going to get sent back to the U.S. to be in a parade and then get chopped. Or be in a parade, get no, Octra was a female, remember?
Oh, yeah, because she got raped, yeah.
Yeah, get inseminated, make children, then get slain.
Yeah.
And like any other farm animal, essentially, if you're going to look at this honestly.
That was a very unnecessarily brutal scene.
That was you get to casually see a CGI pig get raped by another CGI feral pig.
Yeah.
And it's not a good time. Which is why I'm saying everything in this movie is ridiculous. Like, they take themes and ideas and just move them to the extreme.
This is a lot of extremes of things.
Yeah.
And
even in like chase scenes, like there's a part where this giant ass pig is running around downtown, and it's
Yeah.
just like a ridiculous. Exactly. It's just like, oh my god, a huge ass pig! It can run as fast as cars. Oh my god!
So
Like,
my biggest problem with this movie is that there's just too much shit.
Yeah.
Both literally and figuratively.
yes.
There's just so much squeezed into this movie. I wish it was just, less of a lot of things. So like I thought the first scene was totally unnecessary. Like, yeah, it explains like this whole crazy backstory, but do we really need that? What if
It
the
explains
first
the pigs.
What if
That's
the first scene was just her and this crazy dinosaur pig thing hanging out in the wilderness?
Then you'd wonder why it exists.
Exactly. You'd wonder why it exists, and that would pique your interest, and you'd be like, why does this girl have a crazy ass dinosaur pig?
All right,
And then you would slowly discover over time through like conversations with people, like you'd see Joaquin Phoenix come up and like take pictures of it.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, the cast of this movie is brilliant.
It's fucked, yeah.
like
Like
there's
Tilda
so
Swinton,
many-
Paul Dano, Joaquin. This movie doesn't really make sense to
There's
begin.
the dude from The Walking Dead. The Asian dude from The Walking Dead is in it.
Yeah, it's like-
I don't remember his name, but he was great. Oh my god!
I'm not sure whether this is like a Netflix production or like a Korean
Just a movie.
film.
Yeah, that was
It's
made.
a Korean director and is mostly in Korean, but then has a whole lot of A-list Hollywood celebrities in it. And
To just speak English
also-
because I don't think any
it's
of their
also
Korean actors
English a
can
lot.
speak
It's kind
English.
of it's a very, very unique movie, and kind of its inception is really interesting. But yeah, what I was saying was, like, what if it was just with Mija and you're really with her the whole time, and then all the other characters kind of came in, and then you see her go to like the crazy corporate headquarters, and then when she's there is the first time you see Tilda Swinton, and when she's there you see her, and then because like you don't really need to know about her. Like I thought it was like very unnecessary.
Well, I mean, they try to
It's
sell
like,
you.
I feel like the only times you should see those characters is with Mija's interactions with them.
That's fair. They try to sell you on a lot of themes in this film, and that's
it's just
why,
too much.
Yeah, like you
Like,
said, that's why I said they just take every theme and
I was
move it
just
to the
like-
extreme.
I was just like, okay, all right,
It's like
okay,
extreme animal herding,
like-
extreme family horrible relations, extreme
Yeah.
like
everybody is insane in this movie.
Even
every
extreme
character is
veganism.
fucking out of their mind.
there's a character who's like, all right, we're only gonna help animals, but we're never gonna hurt anyone. But we're gonna hurt people to help animals.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait, but you're hurting people. You know you're hurting people to help these animals.
And I was wondering whether like what they were trying to say with this movie.
And one of
because,
them's super vegan and doesn't eat lettuce because he's like, that lettuce was made with certain
Yeah, there
types
was
of
a lot
water,
of-
bro. It's like, really, man? You're gonna get into extreme
there's a lot
veganism
of-
right now?
There's a lot of really bad vegan jokes in the movie. And I was like wondering like what they were trying to like say with this movie, because they're kind of making fun of the things that they're promoting in it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like the part where they're like eating asparagus like in the van, like they're like chomping on it, is like, okay, vegans don't do that. Like,
Well, that one had to because he'd been fasting because he didn't want to eat
okay, they're not gonna
GMO-based
fucking eat
But that's what I
asparagus.
mean.
Like
He
there's
didn't
like
wanna
plenty
eat
of nutritious.
GMO-based vegetables.
Okay, they'll eat some nutritious shit. Like there's other things that you can eat. Like it's like, you know those like stupid memes you see on Facebook and shit where
Yeah,
it's like
he's literally one
where
of
someone's
those.
like, oh, you're vegan? You want to marry a piece of broccoli? Like it's like, no, it's like, oh, to get the same protein you get in a steak, you got to eat like 80 pounds of carrots, man. It's like, okay, dude, like there's other stuff you can get protein from. Like It's not, I felt like there's so many jokes that were kind of along those lines.
That's very true.
Where it's just like,
just to the extreme.
We're just like, oh, you're gonna be vegan. Oh, I bet you like survive off of only lettuce and shit. It's like, okay, like chill out. Like they're just not eating meat. Like it's possible. Like
calm
plenty
the
of
fuck down.
like most people in the world don't eat meat because they can't afford it. Like,
yeah, like, which is literally the point of this film. So
exactly. That's the entire point of the movie. It's like, what the
so
fuck?
many themes in this film that
What the
don't.
fuck, Okja? It contradicts itself so much.
But that's why I love it. It's just so ridiculous.
This movie is for nobody.
It takes every idea and then moves it to the extreme. It's just like, yes, let's have a crazy pig race through
Also,
the streets of
what was
New
that?
York with like this truck that they have to get the pig on mid-movement. And it's like, oh damn, like really? I fucking love this film. And then the guy who's
a lot
about
of
to
poop
get
jokes in
yeah,
this
the guy
movie
who's
too,
about to catch up with them on the train or on the truck because they're trying to get Okja on a truck while the truck is moving and while Okja's running and they don't have a ramp, so Okja literally has to jump in the truck. And then they have to slow down enough so that she does, but when they do, this guy's about to catch up, and then Okja just shits on him. It's like she
You're
literally
just like, okay, this is what I'm watching. All right.
yeah, like that's that. Oh, that's how they get away. Poop.
Yeah, poop. All right. Casual poop joke in this crazy scene.
And then right after the casual
why
poop
not?
joke, they go to a farm where you just see Okja's being killed by like the truckload. And it's like, really? We're gonna go from a poop
There's
joke
a lot of
to
really-
a goddamn slaughterhouse?
There's a lot of really immature humor in this movie mixed with very
Horrible scenes.
Horrible scenes, yeah. And you're like, who would watch this movie? Why?
You're just like, who came up with this script? Not even like just the lines people say, not even the environment they're in, just the lines they say when they're there. Like
It is
bad.
very, very ridiculous. There's a lot of scenes that felt very weird and set up to me. Like the scene,
all of it was weird and set up.
Yeah. like the scene at the end where where they're on the stage and there's all the people in the crowd, and I was like,
yeah.
it just I don't know, something about that just
It's a
felt really
pro pig rally.
it just felt really weird. Like all the characters kind of just followed this like kind of purpose. I don't really know how to best explain it, but
It seemed like anyone who was in this venture didn't really know what they were doing. Like,
No,
if you
yeah.
ever heard about this in real life, you'd be like, no, I'm not going to be dealing with that. Like,
yeah. And it's funny because our favorite character was the one normal character in the movie, the driver of the truck.
oh my God. Okay. So,
He was fantastic.
yeah, the driver of the truck quits his job okay. So the company that made Okja technically, well, they're trying to transport her back and their truck gets hijacked. And the driver of that truck is like, he keeps getting told to do shit. They're like, yo, drive faster and like be unsafe. And he's just like, no.
He's like, wait, I could get hurt. You know what? This is dangerous. This is
not good.
If I get injured right now,
So he
I'm
just-
not going to get financially compensated for this.
He's like, I don't have health
Fuck it.
insurance.
Yeah.
So he pulls over to the side and he's like, do whatever the fuck you want.
and I'm just like, finally, a character that is logically thinking of the consequences
best
of his
one.
actions. This is amazing.
He's just like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't give a shit. I'm going to quit anyway because I don't have health benefits.
He's like, it sucks
So,
for you because
fuck
the
it.
stakes of this actually matter to you, but
not
really,
to me.
I don't give a fuck. Yeah, it was great. And I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a great touch.
There's a news interview with him later.
And then they
he's just
shit
like, I
all
don't
o-
give a fuck.
But then they shit all over that at the end because he joins the vegan terrorists.
Yeah, because he's got nothing better to do.
He becomes a radical at the end. I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
They had to ruin it for us. They had to make him crazy.
Dude, all of them were crazy.
They were all crazy. But not him.
the main, the main
my
rebel
faith in
guy
truck driver.
was fucking retarded.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about the scene where he just beats up the dude for no reason.
I love how immediately before
And they
that,
never bring that up again.
Yeah, they do.
What?
Remember when he comes back and he's like, "Why are you back? I beat the shit out of you." And then he has the tattoo in his arm.
Yeah, but like, why did he beat him up though? Like,
Because he broke the code, yo. The code that says he can't
didn't-
hurt other people. So guess what he did to him? He hurt him. So it doesn't.
Yeah.
He broke the Prime Directive because the other guy broke the Prime
I'm just
Directive.
wondering why that was in the movie. Like, why did they think of having him beat him up unnecessarily? Like, it made no sense to me. And I'm
To
just
show
like,
he's a radical.
okay,
I guess. Okay, I'm not
Like,
gonna.
what?
Again, I can't explain this film. Like, it's just stupid.
I'm just like, wait, okay, that's not something his character would do if I know anything about his character, which I guess I don't. But like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
like I'm like, okay, I guess he's beating him up now. And then I was waiting for like to find out that he's actually evil, or like that meant that like he's actually morally like not super sound, or like
Yeah.
he's not a great person. But no,
he isn't a great person.
But
But,
the-
I mean, whatever.
but he only-
you know that from the get go.
he only does things important to the plot after that. Like in the stakes of the movie, he goes along with the protagonist. Like he does
Yeah.
things that are good in the sense of the movie.
Oh,
In the
yeah.
world of story, he does things.
He does
that
the
are-
right thing.
He does the right thing for the rest of the movie. So I'm like, wait, but he just fucking brutally beat someone up at one scene. And I
Oh,
guess
that's because remember he found out they fucked, or the other guy lied to him about the translation thing. So he was just like, you
well,
lied
that's
to me.
why I got beat up.
Yeah, because he lied to him. And you know what? I'm not gonna
But
say
he
that
seems
that's
like a
reason.
pretty like forgiving, nice person through the rest of the movie.
Yeah, but
would
remember,
think so.
remember when they introduce him and they're like, and he's like, if you're gonna do violent shit, then get the fuck out of this truck and call yourself something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, then I remember him saying that while he was kicking the guy's stomach, and I'm just like, do you see what you're doing right now? Like,
Yeah, I don't even.
the part that got me was right at the end when you hear Okja talk slightly.
Yeah.
Like, not even, you hear her, like, barely breathe a word. And it's like, thanks, but not just, it's not thanks. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh crap, Okja's smart enough to say a word.
And it just like
And then the movie's
it again.
over.
Well, it doesn't really make you feel because you know that there's like hundreds of thousands of Okjas being killed all the time now.
Oh, there's a dope part right at the end,
that's not
too.
really gonna change.
Where,
Yeah.
oh, the pigs, I don't know what the hell to call the pigs.
They're
We'll just call them
Okjas,
super
yeah.
pigs. I don't want to call them Okjas, because Okja's different.
Okja's special. He's not
Okja
like the
is
others.
actually legitimately special. She's
Well, I
not
mean, the
as,
other ones are pretty smart too.
yeah, but she has spirit. The other ones are like, we're just gonna die. Like, comparatively, like that's why I loved that part, scene at the end. There's a part where she, at the end of the movie, she buys Okja because her grandfather actually just saved up all the money she was giving him, and
in like a piece of
literal solid gold
yeah,
pig.
a piece of gold.
It was a literal like gold
Yeah.
pig, and it was apparently worth a lot of money. So she trades that.
Well, I'm not sure if it. That's
she
what-
trades solid gold for.
Well, I was
Okja.
wondering whether the pig is actually valuable or Tilda Swinton kind of had a change of heart.
No, it was just
Or
valuable.
she was just like, oh, it's a cute kid being like, I'll give up the most precious thing in my life.
No,
for,
it's because
it was
gold.
actually value. Okay, that kind of.
You
that
fucking-
ru-
what did Tilda
that ruins
Swinton?
it a little bit
What
for-
did Tilda Swinton care about before that film?
Nothing. Well,
Exactly.
I was thinking
And
maybe
at the
she
end of
found
it,
her
she
humanity
didn't.
a little bit.
No, because remember what she says.
She was just
after?
like, sick, I make some money
Yeah,
off of this.
no, that's literally it. Because after she was just like, "This is our first sale of the pig, our first pig sale."
I'd like to believe that
I wouldn't.
she had a change of heart.
I
but-
kind of not, because that would make her kind of. She's not really redeemable, even if she had that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she's still killing hundreds of pigs every day casually. The fact
Yeah.
that she let one go doesn't really change much.
Yeah.
She's still willing to kill them whenever she feels like it. The only difference is she made a bit of money on this one, which is why she's not willing to kill it. She's a heartless bitch in this film. Like, and she plays it well. I can't say she doesn't, but like, again, she's just to the extreme.
They were all great. All the other characters are great. I just thought they got a little bit too much screen time
Yeah.
for the movie. I felt like the movie could have been a lot more concise. It's about a girl trying to find her super pig.
Yeah, and at the scene at the end when she buys the pig and she's leaving and she's like, I can't save all these other pigs, but I guess I'll have to live with it. There's a family of pigs on the other side, and they pull what I consider the dopest moments because it's the electric fence. So one of them stomps on the electric fence, like
Yeah.
what seems to be the father of the family stomps on the electric fence to open a hole for a second, and the mother just whips their kid out.
Yeah.
At Okja.
And
then
hides it in his mouth.
And like
yeah.
the kid's about to run back, and then Okja just bites it and grabs it in its mouth, and like hides it in its mouth.
Yeah.
And then they both just walk away. And then the parents are just like, "This is sick! Our kid got out! Like, we're happy as shit!" And then it's just like, okay, like, I guess they gave a little bit of hope to the pig herd. But that's the best you can do at the end of the day. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very extreme
It
film.
was very, yeah, I didn't really feel great.
There's
at the
nothing
end of it.
subtle
It was-
about it either. Like, it's very extreme. That's kind of what I liked about
Yeah,
it.
it
There's
reminded
nothing
me.
subtle.
It reminded me of like Shaolin Soccer or Kung Fu Hustle, or like
It's like Mad Libs if you just fit
one of
like,
those like ridiculous movies that like kind of has a point, but is also constantly contradicting itself.
yeah,
You're
pretty
just
much.
you're just like, oh, okay, all right, I guess, all right.
It's just like, what is this film? Like,
It was an interesting time.
there were scenes I really enjoyed, and not for the reasons you should. Let me put it this way: everything that the person who made this film probably tried to get me to feel, I didn't feel. I just had fun watching this film because it was ridiculous to me. The same way I enjoy watching like Godzilla, older Godzilla films.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna say their plots are anything incredible. In fact, half of them don't even make sense. But
Yeah.
I fucking love them because they're just ridiculous.
They're just ridiculous and awesome and great.
Yeah.
And I guess if you go into Okja with that kind of mindset, you'll
If
really
you don't
enjoy
go in expecting anything, it's
which
just,
we didn't.
yeah, which is why I enjoyed it so much. Like, I didn't know anything, and it's about crazy ass super pigs.
Yeah.
And there's like tunnel scenes where you're like, holy crap, this super pig's outrunning a car. This is dope. Like,
Yeah. It was just a lot.
there's
And
certain
I was just
scenes that
like,
are a little
this-
hard to watch though. Like the whole rape scene's a bit much. But
A lot. That's yeah. To sum up the movie, it's a bit much.
yeah, it's just really extreme.
It's it's a bit much.
It's free though, so check it out on Netflix.
Not free, but if you have access to, it might be free. Maybe you're.
Do you know
mooching.
someone with Netflix?
Maybe you're mooching. Maybe you're paying $10 a month.
Either way, you know someone with Netflix. Go see Okja.
It's an interesting time. What do you give now, Okja?
Oh God, it's like a 5. It's not a good. It's not a good film. I'm not gonna say it's a good film. If you want me to say it's a good film, I'm never gonna say that. I'll agree with you on that point, but I do like
Oh man, this is Dunkirk all over
it.
again.
I do like it.
We talk about a movie for like half an hour, and it seems like you like it more than I do, and then you give it a way lower score than I
What
was
were you
planning.
gonna give it?
I was gonna give it a 6.8.
No, it's.
But no.
I don't give points. I'm just like
No.
a 5. It's-
Okay, I'm
let
gonna
me
give
put
it a
this way.
6.
You can pass out watching this
No,
film.
I brought up a lot of shit. Okay, 5. 5 means you really didn't like it.
No, I did, but I would understand if
You
people
know-
wouldn't sit through it.
You realize that it's not good.
Yeah, it's not good at all. I like it, but it's not good at all.
I like how you can be very non-objective with your critique.
I mean, yo, straight up, it's stupid as fuck, but I love it. Like, and that's the thing. I can see a lot of people watching this movie before you go to bed and passing out during like not even halfway through. It's not that good of a film. It's not gonna keep you that engaged unless you like watching stupid shit that's nonsensical.
Alrighty. So Mandeep gives Aksha 5 out of 10.
5, yeah, it's not.
I give it a 6.
It's great.
You go by
but-
our ratings, you probably won't watch it. But,
I mean, yeah.
okay. Well, let's take a little break before we move on. But yeah,
Goddamn,
you'll have
Aksha.
some time to think about that, and we'll just let that sink in.
Check out them super pigs.
Watch out for the riders. Oh, oh, oh. Keep an eye out for the riders. The better your car, the more will come to ride. Soon there'll be no room for you. And then, what will you do when you do? I had 9 pennies, needed one more to make a dime, because I was no one
moving on
Moving on,
to our next film.
getting past the madness that is Okja
Yeah.
to get into
Done with that.
let that out of our system. Just shake it out, and just get into the madness that is Blade Runner 2049.
Yes. This film was awesome. Like, okay. You were telling me that there are 7 different cuts of Blade Runner. The original.
Yeah.
I don't even know which one I saw. I just know I've seen one of the 7. Like, and if I had to say that it's a lot like Stranger Things 2, you don't really need to see the first one.
No.
There are certain parts that will hit home, I guess, a bit more if you have.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, you don't really need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Every you understand essentially what is going on.
It's just a different story that takes place in the same world.
Yeah. Like what, 30 years later? What was it? First one was 2019.
I think it takes place the same amount of years later as when the original Blade Runner came out. I think that was kind of
Oh, okay.
a bit of I'm not sure if it's exactly, but I guess that was kind of the idea, is that like this is while you've been gone, this is everything that's happened.
This is what's happened in this imaginary world while we haven't talked.
Yeah, this movie is incredibly beautiful.
While being incredibly bleak at the same time.
And that's what makes it so great. It was so true to the feel of the first one, and I think it kind of surpasses it in a way, just because the story is a little bit more interesting.
I feel its visuals tell a lot more than the older ones do. Like the older one has really nice.
The visuals are definitely more
set
dynamic
shots?
in this one.
Yes, yeah, that's the word.
The first one definitely sticks to the film noir style a lot and is very consistent all the way through, which is really cool and really awesome, and what makes it a classic. But this one really goes beyond that and really changes it up a lot, and it felt really cool all the way through. I really, it was really great sci-fi in the sense that it was just this really slow moving story, but through the whole journey you learn so much about the world and the characters.
Yeah.
And the world is such a huge part of what makes the characters who they are.
Yeah, and there are very few, or not, I shouldn't say that there are no, but there are very few scenes that are set up for like very specific actions. Or like in the sense where it's like, oh, they're setting up for an action shot because he has to go find this guy and it's going to lead to a chase. It's not really like that. Like those kind of scenes tend to come out of nowhere and like are very random. Because like sometimes they'll start very quickly, but then end just as quickly.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, oh, okay, well then I guess that fight is just over.
Yeah.
Like now they're fine.
Yeah. Everything was very swift and real, and the pacing was great. I loved, the nice, real, slow pace of the movie. You really felt like it was there. It had a lot of things that I really enjoy about sci-fi that you don't really see too much anymore. And I guess in a more broad general sense, I really like this new trend of kind of going back to the way sci-fi used to be before it got fucked up the ass by, a whole lot of shit in the 80s and 90s.
Okay, I feel like that is a huge thing due to the boom of CG though. And the reason that sci-fi is getting good again is because of people willing to make sets again. Because that really comes into making you feel like you're in the environment.
Well, the boom of not using CG, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
I'm talking about like when Star Wars Phantom Menace and crap came out, where like CG became really easy, so people just started throwing it into everything.
I don't know about if easy is the right word,
Sorry,
but it
not
became
easy.
possible.
Yes.
And because you could do whatever your heart's desire, why not do it? Why not have a crazy, epic, huge battle scene this part? Like, why not every scene just be an action scene? Because that's what sci-fi is, apparently.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like sci-fi and really, crazy action kind of just like had this marriage
At
together.
one point.
And then we kind of forgot what sci-fi was.
Without action.
Yeah. And
Because
then we're just like,
it has its own things going
we're
for
like,
it.
Independence Day, that's a sci-fi, I think. Yeah, cool.
Oh, God.
And then it just kind of continued, and we've just seen so much crap like that over and over
Actually,
again.
Terminator's a great example of that. Because when you look at the first few, I'm going to say the first two. The first two are really good. As sci-fi goes.
Well, the second one's an action movie.
Yeah, as far as like sci-fi.
There's cool sci-fi elements, but it's definitely a straight up action movie.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. It's a really well done sci-fi action, but it's not what we're it doesn't pay homage to the roots,
Yeah.
you know, and
Like Dune and like older.
well, yeah, Blade Runner, you know, it's a Philip K. Dick book, and that's you know real raw sci-fi. And it really felt that way. It felt like I was watching, you know, like 2001: A Space Odyssey or something, you know, something where as really. It felt like really good sci-fi in the way that just made you think about concepts and ideas.
Yeah. Just beyond yourself. It made you
yeah.
think about more.
It made you
there.
think of possibilities in the world and
And also, like, if those existed, how would that change our world?
yeah,
Like,
it was very, very philosophical in that sense, and it was really cool. I really liked the world a lot, and one thing I want to get into is how well they portrayed a post-apocalyptic world.
yeah, they do it very well.
And-
very well, actually.
I just want to say straight up, like I know, as good as Mad Max Fury Road was, that movie was kind of ruined for me. Because I've seen so many post-apocalyptic movies with just that shit. Just
Okay,
so
my
much.
brother told me this, I think it was 2 years ago. He pointed this out to me and I didn't notice that, at least in the recent boom. I'm going to say in the past like 3 to 5 years. And that's that when things tend to, or a lot of series, at least I'm going to use The Walking Dead as an example, a great example actually, is that when series tend to run into that post-apocalyptic, we're a tribe or we're a group of people and we have to survive with ourselves.
Well,
and
they light garbage cans on fire and then they grow mohawks.
Yeah.
And then they wear leather and get
Or-
studs and then they just become stupid.
it becomes the Wild West. It becomes
Yeah.
the Wild West in our own modern day because not everyone is smart enough to do everything.
Yeah.
So it becomes the idea of the Wild West where it's like, I got a gun. Okay, well, I don't. Well, I guess you're listening to me now because I got a gun.
or people,
So,
they ride jet skis everywhere.
exactly.
Or-
Like,
there's so many post-apocalyptic tropes that I'm just so
That tend-
fucking over.
yeah,
and
they
sick
tend
of.
to, it
I hate
became
it.
Westerns.
I just hate seeing the dudes with the mohawks going. And it's just there's so many B movies that have that, and it's just like I know Mad Max is the one that started it, so it's okay for them to do it. But at the same time, I'm fucking sick of it. I hate the goons riding the motorcycles, being like and swinging their chains around.
But, like, that's the
it's
idea.
just and they hang out at the lair and they're just crazy all the time. They're
Yeah,
all just
'cause
one-dimensional
they're all stupid
goons
people that can't
because
work
they
on their
grew
own.
up in the apocalypse, so that just makes them stupid and not human anymore. All right.
Yep.
I guess they're not real characters. I guess they're goons now.
Yeah,
like,
it's the Wild West, man.
And I
There's
guess-
nobody to teach you. You got to live on
you're
your
a
own.
goon,
And-
yeah, and it's just somebody walking through this lawless land, and yeah, that would happen in a post-apocalyptic world to an extent. People are still people; they don't stop being people just because the world is over.
Great example of this would be Fist of the North Star. World ends. Guess what keeps people sane? Hyperactive kung fu.
Or like Akira, the post-apocalyptic world in Akira is great. It's already post-apocalyptic technically to start with,
yeah,
but
it's already followed a few
it
atomic bombs.
follows into some tropes towards the end, but the characters they manage to do that, but it works much better than a lot of
They're
shit.
not all random idiots,
They're not all idiots,
and they're not all just beating on
they always
people
have
for no reason.
motives. Yeah,
I get
it
that.
feels real, and I think what made Blade Runner so refreshing is that the characters all felt really real.
But there were people like that though,
There
but only
was.
in certain areas.
there
And,
was,
like,
but they weren't fucking stupid. They were.
Remember when he gets attacked by all those people in the junkyard when his plane gets shot
Yeah,
down?
but those people were just desperate and looking to steal his shit. And
Yeah, but
get
that's-
they
but that's the
weren't-
idea in
they
those
were-
situations.
They weren't like ridiculous, you know, like they weren't
for the
dressed-
sake of being ridiculous.
Exactly.
Yes, I,
I
get
feel
that.
like
Okay.
because like a lot of the like people that like scrap shit and like steal shit from people and like the lawless, you know, nobodies in the world, they'll like because they have the opportunity to be a little crazy, why not make them insane out of their minds? Where they're just riding around their bikes swinging chains around like they weren't like I felt like they weren't quite like that in this movie. They were like
No, they were
yeah, they
the
were
opposite.
scavengers and they were gonna steal all the shit and stuff, but they were pretty, you know, they knew what they were doing and
They shot him down. They were pretty good, actually.
yeah, they shot him down and they're sawing his fucking car open.
Yeah.
They knew what they were doing, and they weren't like partying and going crazy and like lighting shit on fire and stuff
Yeah.
for no reason.
None of
Like
them
they
had weird
were.
mohawks.
It was believable. It wasn't just like dumb like shit just
Yeah, it
happening
wasn't
all the
dumb
time.
schlock. I
They
get
weren't
it.
like playing guitars and shit for no reason. Like it was not schlocky. Yeah, that's a great way to kind of sum up how I feel about a lot of this movie. It's just yeah, the story or the world itself has been done so many times before, but it felt real.
It's well thought out. The
It was
way
cool.
people react to things is very real. His boss, what I really
She
loved,
was great, yeah.
She was great, but then I think it was partway through the film where I was like, "There's never not a drink in her hand." Even
Yeah.
when she's not even at her own office. Like when she just randomly goes to visit him,
love
first thing
that.
she
I love
does,
that scene.
pours herself a goddamn drink. Like,
I mean, I loved how the other characters acted around machines.
yeah.
Or acted around replicants. Is that like she never had really any reservations when she was hanging out with him like she would when she's hanging out with another human, because she knew that he didn't have emotions or anything. So whenever she just randomly shows up at his house, it's like, you're not doing anything, you're a replicant, and she just walks right in.
She's a
Does-
robot.
She doesn't care. She just sits down, like chilling, like she's just enjoying herself, super laid back, just like, because she has no, she's like, you're not a human. I can,
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, and she didn't give a fuck, and that was really cool, and I thought that was interesting because there was no like, from if you don't know the context of the scene, there's just two people in a room.
Well,
But
the whole
it's-
idea with him is that like replicants are just second-class citizens.
It was just
They're
it was such a
slaves.
such a simple thing that went a long way for me.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that in the movie there's no CG required in that. It's just two actors.
Yeah.
But like
Doing really well with certain lines.
that because
I really
of
get
the
that,
way
yeah.
they move their body and behave, it tells so much about the story.
and the way they view
And
each
that was
other.
this movie was a lot of really great subtle moments executed very well.
Yeah. There were some parts that were a little over the top for me, but that was more due to sets, like the dude's room.
Yeah, that was a little
Like
ridiculous.
the main evil guy's
I mean, the movie was fantastically lit.
His
and
office-
looked gorgeous, and I felt like
oh my god.
they were trying. They went a little far.
They
in
tried
some
real hard
scenes.
to make something original, especially in like set wise.
just make it look good. Yeah.
Yeah, like they try. His room,
His
his own
water
office room.
pulsing.
He has so his room is essentially like a raft in the middle of a pond, and there's only stairs that come up to this raft. But like, at least a good 60% of this room is water.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what do you even do in that room? This seems like the final room in the end of a dungeon. In a
It just
video
looks
game.
really cool.
And
Yeah.
at the end of like a Japanese RPG. Like you could find this in Persona or something. Like it's just
I felt like it kind of, to a certain extent, it just looked cool for the sake of
looking cool. And it was just like,
And
yeah.
I didn't really have a problem with that, but also it was kind of.
I was like,
not
this is a
believable.
bit much.
It was.
Like,
It was a bit much.
because like the guy's blind, so in this room there's not much light, and it's just like, okay, I get it. He doesn't need light
why
because
is it
he's
pulsing?
blind.
Yeah.
But why? Yeah, exactly. Why is it pulsing? And why is like there's
It could just be really dim all
so
the
many
time.
exactly. There's so many strange
Maybe
things.
he's being courteous to other people, being like,
want to see in this room.
they still gotta, they don't want to fall in the water. They could drown. They could hurt themselves.
I don't know how deep that water is.
And if they are drowning, it's not like he'd be able to see them to save them. He can't see.
Yeah, he wouldn't know where they were.
He wouldn't know what to do. He would
Would
be
he-
like, shit, this is a really
Would he have
unfortunate.
even saved them? I mean, he killed a replicant.
He didn't really give a shit to begin with.
He
but-
he doesn't care about people. He
Then
doesn't
there
care
would be-
about life.
He would know that there would be a floating body all the time in his room.
You imagine him
I
with
mean,
like one of
his-
those pool cues, and he's just like,
He's
damn
gotta
it.
have a pool net. I mean,
Like, he's just
stuff's
like
gonna
pushing a
fall in
guy
there.
out. He's like, God damn it, not again.
that would be his assistant's job for sure. She-
What the suicidal woman is just pulling out people from the
got
water.
the pool.
Like,
She's got the pool net, just pulling shit out.
I would love that.
But no, this is. I loved how loneliness was a big theme in this movie because that's a huge part of their world.
Yeah, that very much. Essentially,
Trying to fabricate human experiences, trying to
trying to recreate human
creating
frailty
memories,
to a
and not
degree.
just for humans, but for not just for replicants,
From
but for
humans
as well.
for replicants.
Replicants and humans too, though.
Well,
Like-
it's more like but the thing is, these are all experiences that humans have that replicants
Or using
want
replicants
to have.
using replicants, like the love bots and stuff, using them to replicate human relationships for other humans. And
Yeah,
stuff like
using specific moments to create emotion for themselves. And
Yeah.
because the idea is they're all robots, so they can't feel. But the thing is, the ones that realize that they can feel realize that they're more than just robots.
Yeah.
And they find that their life has purpose. But
I
not
loved his,
all of them have that. Like,
Yeah. I loved his hologram girlfriend. That was really cool.
she was interesting.
They're really
I
interesting.
liked her
yeah.
idea. I liked the idea of her, like, especially because there's the great moment where they explain her, where he's looking at the code for something else, and she's like, "Oh, it's 4 digits," and then she's like, "I'm only 2," because she's a
that
lot
was-
more basic.
That's what was so cool, is because they're both not human.
Yeah.
He's just a little bit more complicated than she is, but neither of them are
Human at all.
neither of them are human. It's not like he's closer to being human than she is, because like
But that's just
he's
it.
not human either.
She becomes
Is he more human?
she becomes way more human than him. I believe so.
Yeah.
At least at certain parts of the film, she becomes a lot more human than him.
And yeah, an interesting thing that the movie kind of brings up is like, what's so great about being human in the first place?
Nothing.
like
We
humans are-
feel emotion. That's apparently the one thing that makes
They
us
do.
different.
I think they learn to.
They learn to, but they don't out of the get-go.
It's not
They're not
instinctive
born.
in them.
They're not born
They're
feeling
not-
that.
No, it's something they learn.
It's something that's given to them from a memory from a human.
Can't you say the same thing about our experiences, though?
No.
I mean, we learn to feel things through our own experiences as we
But
grow.
we grow. They don't. They're born a certain age.
I mean,
and they're implanted. Remember, because he said
Physically we
he
grow,
never.
but-
Yeah, but that's what makes us different. Because he never grew up.
Yeah.
He just has a memory of being a child when he never was a child.
Yeah.
Which is when he goes into that memory, or when he thinks about that memory war, is what makes him think about emotion. Because
Yeah.
he's just like, I never grew up. I never had to deal with things. I just
Yeah.
kind of came out the way I was and was told to be something. And that's
Yeah.
who I am. Whereas, and then when he starts thinking about it is when he's just like, well, maybe I'm more than that because I can think about more than that.
Yeah.
And that's what, and essentially the idea is that's what makes a human, is that you think beyond
Yeah.
yourself. You're not just like, I mean, you can be selfish, yes, but like you think about your actions in
it's the
relation to
same-
the world.
A big part of the first movie is what makes you human.
Yeah, and this
What,
movie really touches
It,
upon
it
that.
digs into that even deeper,
Yeah.
which is really cool. And you wonder, it's like the soul is kind of like an abstract philosophical concept that we can't really fully comprehend, and that's what makes us human. Like, we're putting all our faith into.
You said you liked the girlfriend, but what I really liked about her was that there's a moment where she is a manufactured robot that is made for anybody. She's a simple program that's made by a company
replicated tons of
that's
times, yeah.
replicated a shit ton of times for whoever buys it. But the thing is, when you buy her in a base form, and then she learns based on
be what you
whomever,
want her to be, yeah.
on whatever the user wants her to be.
Yeah.
And he wanted her to be more than what she was, which is what she becomes. Because she even turns against her creators.
She went rogue so quickly.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
easily.
Because he
It's a
wanted her to.
pretty big flaw in their their
like
design.
whatever they wanted, but again, they could
Yeah.
control her. It's not like she could do anything.
Yeah,
she
it's
only
true. She's
existed
just
in a
a
holographic
hologram, yeah.
form. She's not real. But
Not
at the
really,
same
yeah.
time, her ideas and her mind essentially are real because she can still come up with ideas and tell
Yeah.
people what to do and be like, "Hey, maybe we should do this." It's like things like that, and that's also very real when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like she was a very defining force in what he did and what he wanted to do throughout the story. Even though she wasn't. I thought was cool that she was whatever he wanted her to be.
Mm-hmm.
And she was essentially a better version of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she didn't have to deal with a lot of the shit that he dealt with.
Yeah, but at the same time, well, she does emotional, not physically. I'm not gonna say, but at the same time, she also pops up out of nowhere. And like, remember when before she dies, she's just like, "Don't do it," and then it's like, why? Like,
Yeah.
why would she say that?
Yeah.
Like, she has no reason. There's no rhyme nor reason to it. She just says, "Don't do it."
Yeah.
And then the other girl breaks her thing, and then she stops existing.
Yeah.
But there's no real
interesting.
reason for her to do that. She's
Yeah,
just
she has
like,
no reason to
she-
feel
and-
afraid of dying.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't make a difference to her, but it does.
yeah.
Which is what's really cool about it. Yeah.
She learns to feel, and that's what makes her become that way. She's just like, he's like, I want her to love him, or he wants her to love him, and she does wholeheartedly, like
Yeah.
to the point where she goes against her creators, to the point where she's willing to give up her life.
That's
like,
yeah. I like the sex scene a lot.
and
That's
that's
really cool.
Yeah, and that's something she learns. That's not something that's given to her.
Yeah. It's really, really like inventive, kind of simple yet like really, really simple idea, but just like really cool concept of
Yeah,
just like
it's very complex. What is it? I forget the word. Whatever. But yeah, it was just really complex in general, I guess.
yeah.
Like trying to convey that feeling.
There's
is
a lot
very
of really
hard.
great scenes that kind of just like make you think a little bit, or just like portray like a certain idea or concept.
They just question a certain like reality, and then when you think about it, you're like, yeah, it's true, but I guess you can look at it from different angles. Like you said, what's just what makes them human. That's what makes them
cool-
human
yeah.
is they can feel. They can feel emotion.
It was cool, and I liked how the movie was kind of like this journey with the character, and I liked the slow pace of it. I thought that was really nice. And, you know,
I liked how it was about him and not about. Okay, they sprinkle in things from the old one, like we were talking about earlier, where like you don't really need to see it.
Yeah.
But you do appreciate it because you're like, hey, that's from the old film. Hey, but it never focuses on them. Like even Harrison
and I
Ford.
felt like those were like the least important parts of it.
Yeah.
Well, he came in towards the very end.
yeah, he comes in more than halfway through the film,
Yeah.
which is great. I
Yeah.
loved that.
I thought it was cool, yeah. It
he's
wasn't
not
just-
he's not a huge focal point
Not a central part of it at all.
until
yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
And that's what's great. It's more about the new characters and like these same themes that you've heard before, but set in a different
Yeah.
way.
One thing someone said to me about this movie that kind of, it didn't like, you know, obviously didn't ruin it at all, but kind of made me like, I wish that could have been done better. Was just like the lack of diversity in this movie. Was because like one thing is that you see Asian imagery everywhere. There's, you know, like kanji all over the place. Like,
But you don't know what that is.
well, it's reminiscent of Asian writing. Like,
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But there's also Arabic writing at one point, and there's Arabic writing in between it. And
Exactly.
Like,
Well, the movie
and
is not-
Punjabi, and like that's what I mean. Like
Exactly.
things aren't essentially what they were.
then why is everybody white?
Well, that I don't know. But
Exactly. That's my point, is that like, yeah, they live in this huge melting pot where everybody's supposedly a different race, yet every important character is white. in
is
this
white.
movie.
No, you're very much right.
And
but
that was that. I mean, that can't not bother me. You know, it's like, yeah, the movie was fantastic, but like the chief, like all the characters could have been different races, and I felt like that
Yes,
would have
but I
sold
feel-
the world a lot better.
that would have sold the world a lot better. But I don't feel that would have
Even
made,
the
I don't feel
sub-characters.
that would have changed the film as like a whole. You know what I mean?
Not
Like,
at all. It would have made it stronger though.
Yes, I'll agree. But I feel like movies that go out of their way to try and do that. Not to say that diversity isn't a big deal, but I mean in the sense that like.
No, but that was the thing, is that it was supposed to be diverse.
Okay, yeah, that's
In the world of story, they were
It
supposed to live
is-
in a very
yeah,
big
they're supposed
melting
to-
pot.
exactly,
you know, Los
yeah.
Angeles. That's why like nothing is in English in their world. Like it's all like always a different
mostly
language,
yeah.
or it's like all yeah.
It's all in random languages.
I mean,
you can't really tell.
Predominantly, at least in the first movie, like a big part of it was that like Chinatown is expanded to the point where it's like mostly Chinese or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like they use a lot of Japanese imagery and culture and stuff, which is, you know, fair because it's part of the whole cyberpunk kind of world. Or
Yeah.
I think they're kind of
Sony went hard into it, so they're
yeah. Well, they're going off of
But-
they're going off of cyberpunk, which is a big thing for anime in the 80s. You know, got Ghost in the Shell, Akira, and all that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, they're trying to kind of create Neo Tokyo a bit in Los Angeles, which is cool because I like how they're inspired by that stuff. I like that stuff too, but you got to put some Asian characters in there.
But that's like okay.
You can't just take things and then not
But
like
okay, but
sell
my
it at
question
all.
my question about this is like, When you say stronger, do you mean like if it was a main character
Yeah.
that was diverse?
Not-
or a side character that is
Could've been a side
important?
character.
Like the girl. Like what if she was Asian? You know, the
Yeah,
one
she
that
definitely could have been.
Would that have changed things to that degree? Like that's what I mean. Would that really have changed things in the film?
Not necessarily, but it would have changed the.
The overall like
It would have said
world,
things
yes.
about the
I would
world.
agree that it would
I
make
think
it
it
look
goes.
better.
I think it goes a long way. Like a small change like that, or not so small. You know, as some people, but like. That's the thing is I can argue the opposite point. Why do they all have to be white?
No, yeah, that's very true. They didn't all have to be white. They all shouldn't have been white.
Like what if I was
technically.
just picking actors out of a hat, which is in this world what it seems like it would be.
Yeah.
Would they all be white?
Nah. That's
No,
impossible.
not at all. It's impossible, yeah. It's like if this is supposed to be an actual representation of the world, you know, that's like what
What if
that's
the
my
white
problem.
people take over, Sean?
Well, okay. Oh yeah, that's
White
never
people
happened
take
before.
over.
Yeah. Oh.
Exactly. What if that happened? Like,
In what world does that happen? White people be on top? What? I've never heard of that before.
oh god, even the replicants
No,
are
but
all white.
that's my. I feel like a lot of people they overreact to diversity. They're like, "Oh, I'm compromising my art now. Like I have to put in people just for the sake of putting them in." But it's like, wait, aren't you making all the characters white just for the sake of making them white?
Yeah, no, it's very true. But I feel
It's like you're making a conscious decision to have only white actors. It's like, are you not bringing that up into your artistic choices? It's like, is that also an artistic choice? Are you like choosing to be, are you choosing to discriminate in your artistic choices now? Because it's like, you can't just say that like, no, it's an artistic choice to purposefully put in a brown person for the sake of having a brown person in your movie. But like, wait, now are you saying that all your characters are white for the sake of having only white characters?
Only white
in your
character. No, you're very true. But the thing is, at the same time, I feel this is where the line between script and was it producer comes into play, where the idea of we need a name, and if I make a
Well, that
guy
brings up-
who's not
That brings up
that
another
big-
thing about sci-fi that I really hate in modern movies is that all new sci-fi movies have to have an A-list actor in them.
Yeah.
And I really hate that because a lot of the great, sci-fi movies don't have all
No,
unknown.
they don't
that's-
have barely anyone who's
And
recognizable.
what makes that so good is that you're not focused on them. They're not familiar.
Harrison Ford isn't what makes the original Blade Runner good. The actual movie itself is good.
And
Like-
there's something to be said about, having a sci-fi movie with all unknown actors is because you're not focused. It takes you away from, your preconceived ideas about what that character should be.
Yeah.
It kind of pulls you out of that because you're more focused on the world and everything's fresh and you're getting to know it more. And it feels, it feels
real.
different. Yeah. And it's a different kind of experience. Whereas when you see a familiar face, it doesn't feel like a new world all of a sudden. You see Tom Cruise, you're like, oh, hey, it's Tom Cruise.
That was
This isn't
kinda-
totally new to me.
This is partly the reason why I don't want to see Mother. I don't really particularly like Jennifer Lawrence, acting wise. I'm not gonna lie.
I like her.
I don't
think she's
really. I guess the only films I've seen with her in them are the X-Men films and one Hunger Games.
Okay, well, that's pretty bad.
Well, what else has she been in that's
There's been
really
a lot of
good?
great Silver Linings Playbook's a good
Okay,
one.
that's what I mean. I haven't seen these films.
No, she's
That's
been
why
in a
I'm
lot of
asking.
really
That's
good
why I'm asking.
movies.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, she's a really good actor. American Hustle, good movie.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that.
Winter's Bone was like her first movie. Really
Seen
good.
that either. Yeah,
great.
So I haven't seen any of her good films. I've seen all of
Yeah,
her shit
you've
films.
seen a lot of her schlock.
Yes.
I can say.
Which
Although
is why I don't particularly
apparently
enjoy
my
her.
brother watched The Hunger Games the first time, like all of them recently. He said he liked them. So
That's okay. It just you have to understand. I saw
Battle Royale.
when
yeah,
I was a child.
Yeah.
Buddy,
yeah,
what do you
yeah,
say? Okay, all right. You can't lie.
Go eat your cookie.
You can't lie when you tell me that. Oh, this movie at least.
It's the same
no, no.
idea, true, but it's a different movie.
Yeah, I'll agree. It's a different concept.
I mean,
as well.
is it that like unique of a concept to begin with?
No, it was the way it was sold to me. it was the way it was sold to me was like, oh my god, it's like this whole crazy battle with
Yeah,
kids.
good for
And
you.
it's just
Good
like,
for you.
Oh my
You've
god.
seen the Japanese version of it.
No,
earlier
not the
than
Japanese
everybody.
version of it. I've seen a way crazier film that to my
People say the same shit about Paprika and Inception.
yeah, that's very
It's like,
true,
yeah, good
actually.
for you.
Yeah.
You saw like
You
a similar
saw-
movie. It doesn't
yeah.
mean they're ripping it off.
No, I'm
It's
not
just-
saying they're ripping it off. It's just that
they're pretty damn different. Like
they are. They're very different.
extremely different.
It's
yeah.
just the way it was sold to me was that it's children doing battle, and
But
I'm like,
that's-
children doing battle in an
that's coming
extreme
from people
sense.
who haven't seen Battle Royale.
Exactly. And that's why I'm like, you haven't seen Battle Royale.
That's why you get to be a smug douchebag about it.
Because when you see Battle Royale, that is children doing battle. Like,
Yeah.
that's not, hey, I learned to bow hunt and took out some people my age. It's, hey, I have a crossbow. Hey, I have a shotgun. Let's do battle. Like, all right,
Yeah.
that's a real battle. Hey, I got a
Anyways.
pot. Hey, I got a gun. Hey,
Back
sweet.
to Blade Runner 2049. Yes, I think it would have been a better movie
It was more diverse.
it was more diverse. And
I
it
would-
should have been more diverse because in the world that would make sense.
Yeah,
And
I'll
another
agree to
thing,
that, but like,
another thing about
but that's what I mean. I'll agree to it, but I just don't think it'll happen. Like,
it could. I mean, there's been lots of really great, like Star Wars, great example. The new ones are very diverse, and it makes sense in the story that it's diverse, and it helps the story.
yeah. Okay. The most diverse one I've seen is Rogue One.
No, Force Awakens is pretty diverse.
Well, it is, but comparatively, Rogue One was more diverse.
It was. That doesn't make it better, but like
But that's
I appreciated the diversity in it. I can't say that's what made it bad for me.
I guess I don't.
I hated
notice
that
it as
movie for
much.
plenty of other reasons.
yeah, that's fair.
That was I mean, that was one of the things I liked about it. That was one of the few things that I think
That
it,
it was
had going
diverse.
for it.
Sure,
Yeah.
that's fair.
But no, I think it's
I just don't think it should be a key point to a film unless, like you said,
Not at all.
unless it's a world-based idea, like you said, where it
But
would make sense that they
that's the
are
thing.
that-
Why is it something that you should have to consciously think about though? Because if you're the way that people put
because
it,
of actors.
well, that's the thing is like, are you by default, are you consciously thinking of making everybody white? Is that the default?
Yeah,
Why?
because most of actors are white. Most A-list actors are white.
Yeah, but that's also kind of fucked up.
But how are you gonna get them people in the seats, Sean? If you don't have that white guy, pull them all in.
Yeah,
Tom
I mean-
Cruise, man. Tom Cruise alone.
That's just like a shitty fact of life, though.
That's
that
an
it's like,
unfortunate fact of life. Yes, I will 100% agree with
And-
that.
you know, I don't like. I don't
not
think
gonna
that's
argue
a
that-
really good reason why. It's like,
Oh, no, it's
why?
not,
Why is it like
but-
that? Because it's always been like that.
Oh yeah, I'll agree. It's shitty, but the thing is,
Because
like,
people were racist in the past, and,
and
because
they're
of
going
that,
to keep being
we
racist.
have to keep being racist. It's like, oh, okay. I don't really see why, but all right. Like, it.
I'm not saying it's like a bad idea, but like,
Oh, I'd hope not.
but that's what I mean when it comes down to the line of script versus producer.
Yeah.
where it's just like
No, in the
producer
script,
wants to
your person
sell-
can be any race.
Yes, in the script, it can be written to be perfect.
Yeah. Your female characters could be male. Your male characters could be female.
Exactly,
Yeah, it's,
but when it comes down to producer wanting to make money, that is now that, and that is now that, because I know that will put asses in the seats.
But yeah, well, that's the thing is that things are changing.
yeah,
You know, like in the 80s, you know, a famous, like crazy blockbuster of all time movie would not have a lead character being black. Like,
that's true.
it would just not have, and not like an interracial couple or something, or a gay character, you know, or like these things are changing. And that's why it's kind of, as much as I liked Blade Runner, it's kind of unfortunate to think about why they couldn't do such a simple thing.
I don't think those
It's
things
such a
are.
small-
I don't think it's that simple of a thing, though. That's
Of
the
course
problem.
it is. It's very simple. You just cast a different person. You just be consciously aware
I don't
of
think
how
that's
diverse.
but I don't think that's like Blade Runner's a pretty blockbuster, or at least this version of it is it's a way bigger production.
Oh yeah, but it's not a movie that's made for everybody, and that's what I
true.
liked about it.
That's very true.
That's what I
actually,
liked
yeah.
about it is how kind of you know, unique it is, and or how like the first one isn't a movie for everybody, and
No,
now
not
there's
at
this
all.
one.
Not even a little.
That's what I really liked about it is it wasn't catering to anybody. It wasn't catering to the masses, which is kind of what I thought it would be going into it. But
I knew it would to a degree, but like
No,
I didn't think I was
yeah.
hoping it wouldn't in its entirety.
that's what I liked about how slow it was.
Yeah, exactly.
and
That's why I
stuff
liked
like
how
that.
Harrison Ford's at the end, because it's just like, hey, he's not introduced at the beginning and not everything's a throwback to
Yeah.
his old days.
Exactly.
Like,
And if they didn't give a fuck about all these things, why are they giving a fuck about making all the characters white? You
that
know,
I
it's-
don't know. That I'll agree.
I can't say
mean,
why. And Denis Villeneuve is a great filmmaker, and I don't know why he didn't consider this when they were making the movie. And it was probably out of his control. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I
But,
can't say that being like one person's decision. You know what I mean? Like that's a matter of like a lot of people saying like, "Hey man, I think this is a great idea." It's like, "Yeah, but I don't think that's going to make
yeah,
money."
in a perfect-
so I'm not going to go with that.
I mean, in a
Like,
perfect world, you judge all the actors by their merits, and then you cast them for the part regardless of what race they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're like, oh, in the script it doesn't, say what race this person is, but then, or maybe it says the person's Caucasian, but then this like Asian guy came in for the audition and
he killed it.
He
So
killed
he's
it.
going
so he's
for
going
it.
for the part. Yeah,
Yeah, like,
And
I get that. That's
I
very
don't.
real.
I don't believe that white people are inherently better actors than everybody else.
God, no.
I just don't think that's true.
No.
And it's
Look at Bollywood films. Not a single one in them. I get what you mean that it works in the world. You are very right. Like their entire world should be way more diverse than it is because it is in the future.
Yeah, and
I very much you're very right about that.
well, this movie has less of an excuse than most movies
yes,
for this.
for those reasons. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's very
and
true.
That's what makes it kind of double hard is that like every movie should have this to begin with. Like without saying, if you're making a movie in 2017 and you're consciously only casting white people just because you think that's what a movie should be, then you should rethink the way you're doing things.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I see that as the same reason why you shouldn't remake like Old Boy. like what made that movie need a remake?
It didn't.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
It was perfectly done with an all Asian cast.
Yeah.
But the only reason it didn't sell here is because it was an all Asian cast.
Exactly.
like, and that really sucks because it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
But like, it's
People
not
aren't-
gonna sell.
People
And-
aren't very open-minded.
And
yeah.
producers are like, I don't care about what's right and wrong. I just want my money back.
yeah.
like, and if Ryan Gosling puts that, gives me my money back, then that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's like an idea of he's white, we have to cast him. It's like, hey, he's famous, let's just go with that. And unfortunately, a lot of famous actors are white.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I mean,
it's slowly changing.
there's options.
There are options, and it is slowly changing. But like, unfortunately, a lot of them are. At least A-list ones for movies like this.
But the movie wasn't all A-list actors, though. All
No.
the other, you know,
none of the
they
others
could
were.
have-
Other than
they could have not
Harrison
been white.
Ford and Jake Gyllenhaal and
not Jake Gyllenhaal, Jared Leto.
Jared Leto. Sorry,
I thought it was Jake Gyllenhaal for a bit too.
Yeah,
It's okay.
and Ryan
Ryan
Gosling.
Gosling, yeah,
That's it.
yeah. No, that's true. And,
And
there's scenes where they talk to brown people and stuff on the street and stuff, but like it was very minimal.
subtle. It's
Even
not-
like the shots with the orphanage, like all the kids were white and
Yeah,
stuff. Like,
exactly. You're very right in the idea that it should have been more diverse. It's just that I don't feel anyone's looking out for that
yeah.
to that degree in film. Like continuity doesn't fall under that. You know what I
Well,
mean?
people are. It's a harder thing to get away with nowadays because people will nail you for it. And as much as I loved Blade Runner, it deserves to get nailed for it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm sorry, I love the movie, but
That's fair.
deal with the consequences of your
You
actions.
should have more people of color or race. In
Should
general.
have, yeah, just
Like,
don't be racist. It's not hard.
don't whitewash your film for
Yeah.
no real reason.
Exactly. And I think it's shown that movie could still make a lot of money with having other races in your movie. Like sure, get Ryan Gosling in your movie. People will go see it for Ryan Gosling, but you
Have
can
him
still
talk to-
cast
Yeah,
you can
like,
still cast other races in your movie. It's not going to butcher your film entirely.
That's very
It's
true.
probably going to help it a bit. I mean, Rogue One, people came out to see like the brown dude in the movie because they were like, "Holy shit, this guy's in like a blockbuster movie."
And Donnie Chen?
Donnie Yen,
Yeah.
like Asian people
Donnie
came
Yen,
out to see
not
him.
Chen,
They were like,
yeah.
he's sick. It's
'Cause
Ip
he
Man
is sick.
in this
Ip
movie.
Man killed it. in that
It
film.
was dope. Another one of the few things I liked in that movie.
It's like one of the only things I like. In
Pretty
that
much
film.
the only scene
I
I
just
saw.
love Ip Man.
He fucking killed it. He did his thing and
Yeah.
then he was out.
Remember when I showed you Tiger Cage 2? My
Yeah.
God, Donnie Yen when he's young as fuck, he's brilliant. Like, oh God.
It was great, and I think that's the only bad thing I have to say about Blade Runner.
I honestly didn't notice it until you pointed it out.
I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it too, which until somebody else pointed it out to me, and I'm like, huh.
But I feel
You're
that's
right.
again more since we've seen a lot of films like that, where it's like
We're so
white
desensitized to it. It's
Yeah.
that's what we think about when we think about movies, and it's a thing, and you know, it's something that you're not even sure you're aware of doing when you're making a movie. I can say from experiences that by default you kind of
you fall into certain
you
roles.
think of all
like,
the characters
yeah.
being white. You like when you're writing the script, you're like, oh, John, Steve, and Bob. Like that's what characters are in movies. Those are their names, and you're like, that's just what happens, and you're so conditioned to it that like that's what you expect out of a movie, and it's this really unfortunate kind of systematic thing that happens.
No, I get that. It's
And,
it's very based in, yeah.
It's something to change, and I don't think, like I said before, I don't think you're compromising your artistic control by doing that. If you truly,
I don't think, but that's
If
what I
you
mean. I don't
truly
think it's ever a
believed-
matter of artistic control.
well, that's what
though.
people make it out to think whenever somebody questions a filmmaker for having, you know, like only men in their film or only straight characters or only white people in their film, they're like, oh, so I have to do that now because that's like what I have to do in my film. You know, it's like now I have to do it just because you're saying that I have to do it just for the sake. Well, it's like, did you have to do it just for the sake of having only white people in your film?
I mean, did you have to make the film? Like,
Well, that's the thing. If you were truly not consciously aware of what you were doing, then your film would be more diverse. Just because of the society we live in, where now a lot of, you know, people of other races and, you know, different backgrounds are in the arts. Now you can't be involved in, you know, in North America. You can't get in
without dealing with other cultures. Yeah,
exactly.
and
It's
meeting
such a
other
huge
people.
part
That's
of
fair.
because yeah, sure, like, you know, 50 years ago when immigrant families would stick to being doctors or, you know, having
engineers
and doctor, engineer, lawyer, whatever. It's like, yeah, it was much uncommon, but now in 2017 where it's people like you and me who are really interested in arts, you know, just naturally get into it like anybody else would being raised in our culture. And we grew up in this country not feeling like we were totally different all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like it's a hard thing to really escape.
Yeah, it's definitely a bias. It's definitely a major bias. I won't lie about that.
But yeah,
I can't honestly blame it on like a writer or a producer,
No.
like a director.
No,
you know what I mean? Like I can't blame this on
well,
a
that's
single
the thing
person.
because you have to. At the end of
That's
the day,
too much. Like
Good
it's
or
not
bad,
like that
that's the
person made
role-
every decision though.
well, that's another thing in filmmaking is that when a movie goes really well, the director gets all the credit,
That's such
and then when it doesn't go well, it's like, oh, it was that guy's fault, or it was that person's fault, or it was that. But it really that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes everybody blames the director as well. It's like when you're a director of a film, good or bad, you deal with all the consequences. You take all the blame. If something that wasn't your decision makes the film worse, you get blamed for it. And if it's something that wasn't your decision makes the film better, you get the credit for it. And that just goes with the job.
Oh god,
You're the leader.
it's a horrible job. It's too much shit.
That's it. It's like, did you think that one person was in charge of doing all that? No,
I
of
can't.
course not.
Like, that's
it's a beautiful,
impossible.
amazing collaboration with all these people.
Yeah.
But nobody knows who the fuck. Most people don't even know who shot it. I know Roger Deakins shot it because he's a super famous cinematographer. But most people would.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I only know that because I'm like into film and talk with a lot of camera people on a regular basis. So I kind of can't escape shit like that. But most people wouldn't even know that. And he's a really, really fucking famous camera guy. Like he's like one of the first names you'll hear when you're getting interested in cinematography. So it's like Yeah, like that's like on the high end of the spectrum, and most people aren't even aware of that.
Yeah. Okay. That's yeah.
So that's how kind of fucked up it is. Like, oh, Denis Villeneuve makes really good looking films. It's like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't operate the camera. He doesn't know what the fuck. Like,
It's
like-
shit.
sure, he has a vision for it. All his films look good because he picks really good camera people to shoot his movies.
Yeah.
And he understands, has really good ideas and is able to convey those ideas to people who know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh God. This all reminds me of the.
But yeah, it's a great collaboration.
Yeah. This reminds me of the video, the red letter video for Ghostbusters, where they show you the behind the scenes footage, and you get to see the people who are working on it, and you see their faces, and they're just like, I know this is just shit, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it right, even though I don't like it at all. Like,
That's a
it seems like that's a lot of, or not a lot of film, but I should say like a lot of people do
and yeah, not to
work they don't get credit for.
Yeah.
In the sense that like something that you or some imagery that you know and love
yeah.
is not necessarily made by someone you think it is.
Yeah. And another thing, not to, since you brought up Ghostbusters, not to open up a huge can of worms, but it shows that making a film that's diverse isn't an incredibly hard thing to do because the Fast and Furious films are incredibly diverse.
Surprisingly,
Ghost
yes.
and-
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. There's great diversity. It's lots of strong female characters, lots of characters from all different backgrounds. You have lots of minorities.
Only one white guy.
Exactly. Those films are they're not good movies, but they're diverse.
And he died? Like, come on.
That doesn't that's not what makes them
I
good.
know.
And it's not what's going to make your movie good, but it's something you should do in your movies.
Yeah, it's something you should definitely aim for because the
Good-
world isn't like
Whether
that.
your movie sucks or not, it's part of recreating the reality of your world.
Yeah. And if your world only has white people, then just say that up front.
We live in this alternate reality with only white people.
All right, cool.
It's called the 1980s in movies.
You're kind of racist, but I'll deal. If this
was,
movie's good enough, I'll look past it. Like,
Yeah, it was nice. In the new season of Stranger Things, there was a brown character that was just there for you didn't see her parents. There's no reason for her being brown.
all the
They never-
characters in Stranger Things are white.
Yeah, which is why I liked that there was just a brown character in the new season who was badass and had crazy psychic mind powers.
Okay.
And they never brought up like where she was from or like what her family's background was or they never brought up the fact that she was brown. And I really liked that.
That's good.
It was nice.
She's just a character.
She could have been white, but
she's
she was
just-
brown
yeah,
and it was
she's just
nice.
a character.
I really liked that.
That's good. I really agree with the idea of. I feel that the idea of diversity it really plays into your script.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like it's one of those. It's funny because when you say the idea of diversity, it's like kind of fucked up that we're even talking about it in that context.
that way. You're very right.
It's like the idea of not being racist thing. This thing called not being a total asshole.
A total
like,
ass in film, but like,
that's,
but that's what I
interesting-
mean.
It's
We're
funny
so
because
used to people being dicks in film.
exactly it's been racist for so long that it's like, hey, this whole idea of not being racist. What is this?
It's just I feel when certain people come out with ideas, or at least when scripts, they don't generally think of that. Or at least, like you said, for their characters. Like sometimes a character starts out male, but then they get a great female actor, and then it ends up female.
You're like, it could be that, or
Yeah,
like this
like-
heterosexual couple could be gay. Why not?
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like a lot of scripts tend to get taken in by not just producers, but like directors as well. And then they have their own idea. And then it's just like, has to be this guy. If it ain't this guy, not happening.
Yeah.
Like, and that I feel is what ruins diversity in film.
Mm-hmm.
The idea where it's like, this character has to be this guy.
yeah.
And then
Or it's the
this character
idea-
has to be this girl.
There's like
And
a
it's
certain idea where like they'll have somebody on set like looking at the monitor and they'll look at every frame of the extras and they'll be like, okay, well there's like 2 white people, then we need a brown person, and then we need a Muslim girl, and then we need an Asian person, then
Yeah.
we need a Hispanic person, and then let's just get those people in the frame. And I can understand because that feels like you're artistically compromising.
that just feels like you're.
it feels like you're just forcing it. And yeah, but you have to understand why they're doing it.
I understand that but
And you're understanding that they're doing it to kind of end this systematic, fucked up idea of only having white people
In film, yeah. I feel that it's not a matter of just extras, though. I feel like if you
No.
really want to make this different,
I mean-
it has to be main roles.
And it's
or
true.
At least
And I
a
mean-
reoccurring role.
And I feel like that's another thing is that like people are kind of just like Spider-Man, the Homecoming was a great example of that. Where
Oh
it's like
God, that was a beautiful
all-
example of that.
all the background shots always had diverse extras, but all the main characters were white. The supporting character was Asian,
And the
black, yeah, and,
See, that's
and
what
that
I
great
mean.
moment, and the great moment.
that one great
The
moment.
great moment.
The one
That
great
was very
moment.
clever.
And that's what I mean. Things like that are great.
That was excellent, but that was a very.
That was right at the end.
It was very. Not to say that it was
And
bad.
purposeful.
It was very. The diversity was kind of forced. It didn't bother me because it was cool seeing like. Just like why
was ni-
not?
yeah, it
like
was
have
nice
a Muslim
seeing
person
them.
for no reason in
Yeah.
the back of the film, like because they exist in real life.
Yep.
If you walk down the street, you'll probably see a Muslim person.
If you've gone to public school or literally any other school,
You
you
probably-
probably met one. I mean,
yeah, you
You've been to-
probably
hell-
in a real school, you would probably see like a
if you
black
haven't
kid.
been
like,
to a
it's-
Catholic school, you've met someone of color. Like
Yeah.
that is literally it.
Even if you have, you probably like it's just the odds of being a person in this world.
Yeah.
You meet different kinds of people. And I can't that's why I say like yeah, like when you think about the idea of just forcing other races of people into your movies, it seems like you're compromising, but you're really not.
I feel like the idea is forced when you're like, I need to have one Hindu guy and one Muslim girl and one like when you're looking for things to put in. Not
Yeah.
the idea of, hey, I found this great actor and yeah,
Well, that's
she's
the
black.
thing, is that-
and I know we wrote the character to be a white girl, but it works.
Well, that's
Like-
the thing. It's like when you don't put any effort into being aware of it at all, everybody just ends up being white.
Oh God, that sucks.
Because that's just what happens. You might not even be consciously aware of it. It happens. I mean, I can say just from my own experience making movies, it just kind of happens.
That's shitty.
And it's hard to say because it's not. Sometimes it's just not something you're really aware that you're even doing. And then once you realize it, you're like, I didn't even realize Blade Runner was like.
Yeah,
So
no, you're
not
very right.
diverse.
I
It
didn't
wasn't
notice
until-
it until you pointed it
It
out.
wasn't until afterwards I'm just like, shit, damn, no, goddamn.
White people everywhere.
Why? You're just like, why? But then you realize it's just that's what we associate with movies, and
Very true.
yeah, it's an important thing to be aware of. It's like same in music too. You assume every band to be all guys, and then when you realize that a band is all female, you're like, oh wow, an all female band. I wasn't expecting that. Or it's like when you think of like the drummer in a band, you're like, oh, it must be a guy. And then you'll see a video, and then you'll be like, "Oh wow, it's a girl drummer!" Like, it's like surprising to you, but and you're like, "What?" Like women have just as much access to drums as guys do. Like,
Guess which artist shattered that illusion for me?
Who?
Of all people. Fucking Marvin Gaye. when he did the duet with a chick in one of his songs, Listen to Your Heart,
yeah,
and when she's singing, I'm like, oh, there's another girl there. And it's like, nope, that's Marvin Gaye. It's like, Marvin Gaye can sing that high. Men can sing that high, women can sing that low. It works out.
it's Diana Ross.
Oh, even
It was a
better.
woman. I don't think
Oh
that
my
was
God.
on Marvin. I think it was definitely a woman. Yeah.
No. He beats her. He beats her at one point.
Oh, one part you think it's Diana, and it's
And
Marvin.
it's Marvin.
You're alone all the time. Does it ever bother you? Have you asked why?
Is this on your sister's compilation CD?
Fucking course it is.
Oh wow.
And out again. Do you really ever love? Or just pretend? Oh, baby. Why fool yourself? Don't be afraid to help yourself. It's never too late to stop. Look, yes, listen to your heart. Hear what it's saying. Stop. Look, listen to your heart. Hear what it's saying. Love. Oh, love. Love. Though you try, you can't hide all the
It's coming soon. It's after the interlude. Oh, going off. Oh wait, it's coming. Oh, there's Diana. There's Marvin. Go back. Woo. How's it gonna bring it? Wait for her. Bring it. Damn it, Marvin. And then he went for the treble, she went for the bass, and it works. Like, I love it.
She can be the bass if she wants. Alrighty, what do you give Blade Runner?
I'll give it an 8. It was good. I really enjoyed it.
I gave it a 9 out of 10 with an asterisk.
It's
Why are there so many white people?
it wasn't the white people that ruined it for me. It was for once, it wasn't the white people that ruined it for me. But it was more, there were certain parts where I tended to drift out. And I guess that was closer to the end when it, how do I put it? Yeah, I guess it was closer to the end. It's a really long movie. It's almost like 3 hours, isn't it?
Yeah, just under.
Yeah, that's why I guess, to me, I kind of started drifting near the end.
I did, but I didn't mind that. I liked how I kind of had to fight a little bit to stay in it because I don't know. I kind of like it when some movies it's like you get as much out of it as you put into it.
Yeah,
and it kind
that's
of
very
forced me
true.
to kind of put a little bit more effort into watching it. So yeah, I didn't mind that so much. That wasn't that didn't bother me so much. I give it a 9 out of 10. I really I enjoyed it a lot. I've shared my feelings on
Sure.
on everything else, but no, it was a great movie.
Yeah,
For what it was.
It's definitely worth seeing.
It's really beautiful.
Sci-fi.
Beautiful, great sci-fi. No dumb dudes
Yeah,
riding jet skis.
it's been a while since you've seen good sci-fi like this, actually.
I would say it's been a while. I thought Arrival was fantastic.
Actually, that's
as
very
well.
true. Arrival is actually
Same director.
just about as close. Yeah.
Great sci-fi as well. I like this trend. I hope it keeps going well. We'll see how the Dune movie turns out.
There's a new Dune movie.
Apparently, they're gonna make one with
Oh shit!
Alfonso Cuarón directing. I'm pretty sure. Cuarón or Inarritu, I forget.
Do you
One
think
of those
it'll be
two.
diverse, or people will just be alien looking?
I mean, it would have to be diverse.
Or they could just be alien looking.
I always picture that when I was reading it, I pictured them as being brown.
Same here, but I mean, like everyone.
I mean,
I
it's
like the whole thing with the still suits and like
Yeah.
like people wear them all the
well,
time. like
the
that
idea. The reason why I thought they'd be brown is because they borrow a lot from like Islamic culture.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
When he was creating them, so I just naturally kind of pictured that when I was thinking about it. And also kind of goes with the world of the story and them being different.
And them living in the
'Cause
goddamn sun every day, so there's no way there'd be white.
Yeah, race is a pretty big part of it, but we'll do maybe a whole other episode. Anyways,
Yeah.
thank you for listening to episode 5 of Worthless Opinions podcast.
Check out them movies. They're great.
It's been a great time.
「口づけると甘い匂い」「花のようなバニラのような甘い匂い」「ぼんやりして眠たくなる」「子供になる抱きしめる」